And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bash us, yeah.
Attention to roll call. All right, everybody, welcome. Happy Monday. Got a lot to get through today. Obviously, we're going to talk about this lawsuit that just dropped. I just want to welcome back Eric Dym. He's back. I know you guys been waiting for that. So what's up, Eric? What's going down?
Yeah, baby. Good morning, man. It's good to be back. 300,000 subscribers. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. It's been recovery time, man. I've been out with surgery. It's about 2.5 weeks right now. I mean, if you can see, my neck's a little bit swollen, but scars are good. They remind you that you're recovering. The body's amazing, man. The body does a great job of healing. It's only 2.5 weeks, and I'm trying to walk around. I think that's best. I don't like to be glued to the bed. Get up, move around, get that body flowing. But I can tell you this: learn from me. Years of pain and ignoring it. Eventually, it got to a point that I had no choice but to get surgery. So listen to your body, man. I'm telling you, listen to your body. It's great being back. I want to thank John and Marlon for holding it down. You guys did an awesome job, put out some great shows. We now hit 300,000 subscribers, and it's also because of you guys. Our friends and listeners, a lot of the people that are dedicated who have been in the chat, keeping this conversation going. I appreciate it. It's great to be back. You might still hear it a little bit in my voice. I'm still healing. I had some what's called the ACDF fusion. So from C3 to C7, I had to put a plate in, some spacers. So compounded years of doing jiu-jitsu and boxing and have gotten to me. But hey, listen, sometimes I'd rather get hurt doing the things you love than sitting on a couch and doing nothing. So I'm prepared to be back, brother. So it's good to be here. Some great topics. You guys really hammered away at some awesome topics. Really impressive. I was rooting for you watching it. So thank you, everybody. Awesome to be here.
What's up, Marlon?
Yo, what's up, bro?
Marlon, before you go, Jason's got the best comment. He sounds like a man now. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, morning chat. Who we got here? Morning, Terry Manane, Detective Nolan, Jason, of course, Jack Greco, Michael Ramos. Not sure I've seen that name before. Of course, Modern Samurai, Chronicles, ENYC, Pat Donahue, QC Beast. Yeah, guys, hope everyone had a great weekend. Couple topics to get through today. As usual, it's never a dull moment in New York City. And something else just dropped just as we're about to go live. So we're going to talk about that as well in the show, about the crime, whether it's actually down or not. But we'll get to all of that soon. So welcome into all of those who are just coming in as well. Oh, John, you're on mute.
Oh, wow. My thing unplugged. I'm actually not on mute. That's weird.
Yeah.
You got me now?
Oh,
you're good.
Loud and clear.
Yeah, that's weird. My thing unplugged.
All
right, so before we go on that, it was crime was mostly down. An article just dropped. We'll tie that into the entire discussion. But before we get on that, Eric, you were gone for a while, dude, and there was a lot of things that happened. Is there anything that you wanna touch on before we go on to today's topic?
You guys nailed it. And when you got shut down, I was like, you know what? That's good, because it shows that people are actually listening. There's no coincidence that the story was big and you guys were shut down that day. There's no coincidence. I always say it all the time. Anyone that knows me says, you always say that, because there are no coincidences. Things happen because people make moves. So there's no doubt in my mind. I would love to find out, what was Jessica Tisch doing that day? What was some people of the upper echelon doing that day? I'm very curious that our YouTube was shut down that day. You guys nailed it. Great job. There's a lot of friendly fire within the police department. It's a scary time. If you're a cop right now, the guy to your left, the guy to your right, you get faced with a gunman. You have to ask yourself, who's my threat here? Is it the gunman or my fellow cops? Some people might get upset by that, but it's the reality. Are we trained? Are we trained for a potential gun battle? These are scary things. You guys nailed it. Awesome job, bro. I loved it. By the way, Monet Samurai says I wasn't getting surgery. I was getting my Adam's apple removed. I gotta love it. These jokes are great. But first couple of days out from surgery, I sounded like a phone sex operator. So I had my brother-in-laws. They kept calling me on purpose, even though I was like all drugged up. I was tired, and they just kept making me talk because it was kind of funny. So hopefully it comes back. But listen, you guys nailed it. That's so important right now. People might be offended by us actually talking about the truth, but the reality is, I don't want cops hurting each other. We need to be prepared. And the question is, are they prepared?
No, yeah. I think tactically they're not prepared. And then I think,
No.
you know, and I said it before, I said it years ago. I said, like, when you put out untrained cops, they're not only a threat to you physically, they're a threat to you criminally as well. Like, they could get you put in jail for absolutely no reason because they don't know what they're doing and they don't know what they saw. They don't know how to articulate it. And next thing you know, the perp that you arrested, the guy that's complaining about you, is more of your friend than the person that you were in the car with that day. You know what I mean? And you know, that's something that we continuously harp on. And you know, unfortunately, you know, I haven't seen any improvement whatsoever in the last 4 years. So all right, let's get to it. Let's get to it. I think this came out. This was, I mean, real taboo. I think, you know, really going to be a hard conversation, I think. So, slain NYPD officer was accused of negligence during mass shooting at NFL headquarters. Craig Clemente, an NFL employee, was injured by the gunfire. He claims NYPD Detective Didarul Islam's inattentiveness allowed Shane Tamora to enter the building carrying an assault rifle. So, I think one thing that we got to, like, go on right away is we have not seen the surveillance video, right? We have not seen that. Detective Islam was assigned to a paid detail that day, so he technically wasn't working for the city. So I think this lawsuit could have a lot of ramifications if it goes through. If in fact it's successful, could have a lot of ramifications for doing paid detail. Paid detail is where private corporations actually pay NYPD officers. That money is not pensionable for NYPD officers, but we have had officers injured in the line of duty, and then taxpayers pick up that bill not only for the injuries, but if they're get a disability pension down the road, and in this case, unfortunately, a line of duty funeral. So there's a lot of things around this. I did see an interview a while back with former NYPD Chief of Department John Schell. And I believe he commented on this, and this was prior to the lawsuit dropping. And he said something along the lines of that he did see that surveillance video, and that anyone that says that Islam did not do what he was supposed to do that day is a liar. So until that comes out, you know, I never really hold what he says with too much weight. I don't find him to be a credible person, but you know, I don't think that, you know, I think it would be really harsh to lie on a murdered cop. So, you know, I don't not believe him when it comes to that, but I'm just saying traditionally I don't find him to be a credible person. So I don't know. What do you guys think about this lawsuit? Like it is really, I mean, people are shocked by it. They're like, why can't we, like, you're suing a dead cop, like a murdered cop, and NYPD's touted him as a hero. They promoted him first grade detective posthumously. Can't say that word, but what do you guys think about this?
Yeah, just initial thoughts on it. I do think there's a lot of ramifications from that. I think the paid detail program is pretty big, and I think it's pretty much been a bargain for these corporations to have paid detail working there. And you know, if they have to take police action, then they're basically, you know, on duty. So I think that removes a lot of liability in the past from them and a lot of costs from them. But I think things might be changing as we go forward, potentially changing as a result of this going forward.
I think so. We lost Marlon already. So I think the big thing that we should discuss here is how much responsibility and liability is the NYPD when a cop is doing paid detail? I mean, because ultimately, this is a question I always asked, and we actually got to a pinnacle point here. No one's ever answered this question. Who holds liability when doing paid detail? Is the cop the subcontractor, or is the NYPD the subcontractor, or is the cop the subcontractor to the subcontractor? So that begs a lot of questions, and that's the reality. It's almost like subleasing, right? If you rent an apartment and then you actually the actual renter then subleases that apartment, who holds liability? And it's kind of the same thing here also. So when it comes to pay detail, who actually holds the liability? Is the NYPD the actual subcontractor, or is the cop now an independent subcontractor? So I don't think that question's actually been answered. So I'm curious. I think ultimately this is going to come down to what the courts say and the court's opinion. So what do you think about that, John? Who ultimately is the subcontractor? Is it the cop or is it the NYPD?
I mean, it's a great question, and I think ultimately, like when you look at it, the way it's structured, it's the cops working and supervised by that security team that day when they do the paid detail. So, that was in an NFL building, but yet you're suing the NYPD, but you're not suing the security company. Like, it's kind of weird to me. I mean, let's just play devil's advocate. Let's say that in fact, Islam was inattentive. He wasn't ready. He wasn't doing his job. He was playing Snake on his phone. Is the NYPD and New York City taxpayers, are they liable for the injuries to this individual? And I think, there's been other precedent around this where the NYPD has argued, and I think it's a horrible argument, but they've argued it and it's been successful. And what they say is that they have no duty to protect you. So, I mean, and I think that precedent will hold here. So I don't know that I don't think this lawsuit will be successful, but when you look at it as a whole on the burden on taxpayers, should NYPD cops be doing private security in uniform when ultimately the NYPD, New York City, and the taxpayer are going to be held liable for anything that occurs that day? And I think that any reasonable person would say that absolutely not. This is like a gift to big business, is what this is. And again, you see it right here. It has alleviated the liability from that building and their security team that day.
Yeah, the reality is what Marlon said is spot on. This is like, to me, it's almost like cheap labor. So for the cop that's actually doing paid detail, I don't know what it is right now. For some cops, I think it's been a long time. I've been out now since September 2022. And I think at that point, it was about $60 an hour for a paid detail cop. So for a young police officer, that may be good, $60 an hour. But for a big business, it's peanuts. It's cheap labor. You're getting a police officer, excuse me, with an NYPD patch in full uniform with a firearm, who's supposedly fully trained. So to me, this is an odd phenomenon, right? Because yes, tactically they're working for the security apparatus that's there. For instance, when we talk about Detective Islam, but his connection, right, is still with the NYPD. If he actually summons for help or assistance, he gets on the radio and he summons for the NYPD. So I think that's why I say this is very interesting. Who's the actual subcontractor? Because if he needs assistance, he needs additional personnel to assist him. He gets on the radio and requests the NYPD, yet he's being rented out as almost, we could say, I hope people are not insulted, but it almost is like we have a toy cop. And this toy cop is standing there almost as a security guard, but with the same training as a police officer and the same resources available. So if that cop a pinnacle situation may be outnumbered, let's say rhetorically speaking, like there was 2 or 3 gunmen, because it could happen, right? Let's say something like Mumbai. That cop's going to get on the radio and get assisted by the NYPD. So for $60 an hour, some big business essentially is actually renting out the entire police department. Right? Physically, they have one police officer stand there, but ultimately they're actually getting the support of the entire police department for $60 an hour. If Officer Islam gets on the radio and says, I need aviation, I need a boat, I need this, he's going to get it in a second from the NYPD, and yet they're paying $60 an hour. That's why I say it's very interesting. Who's the actual subcontractor? Marlon, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, we talked when you were gone, Eric, about the wedding of God,
Swift.
I got a
Kelsey.
brain freeze right now. You know?
Taylor Swift.
That was a great job. That was a great job, by the way.
Yeah,
Awesome
Kelch.
job, you guys. Killed it.
Yeah. So one of the problems with it is that the city is basically covering their security. Okay, you know, the city is burdened with covering the security in the area where they should be paying for it. You know, and they were supposed to have this thing in Rhode Island, but they moved it to New York City because in Rhode Island apparently they figured they wouldn't be able to secure the perimeter enough, probably from paparazzi taking pictures on boats in the areas or whatnot, taking pictures off the boats of the location, right? But the problem here is now that we the taxpayers have to cover this, and we got to cover it amidst a fiscal crunch. And in a lot of ways, when you look at a pay detail program, though it's been great for cops, you know, it's great for cops. But again, you think about it, something happens there. It's the city that's covering the security, the security costs, the city that's covering the insurance costs and all of this that would be, you know, in a lot of ways, sometimes it might be cost prohibitive for these corporations. But there's something else I want to talk about that angle, right? And that angle is that a lot of these corporations don't speak up at the declining conditions in the city. They don't speak up about the rise in homeless and EDPs on the street. And a lot of these same businesses get you there as paid detail to have to walk around and shoo away all the homeless people that tend to put up camps adjacent to their properties. And I'm talking about like there's a building across the street from MSG that does that, because I used to do a lot of paid detail, and one of the things they want you to do is walk around it every now and then and tell the people who are putting up tents next to it that they got to move, right? You got to do that with security. So these corporations don't speak up about the declining conditions in the city because, I mean, they don't care. They have, you know, they just get more paid detail. They have the money, they get paid detail, they get personalized attention to their property when they pick up the phone and they call to NYPD chiefs, the commissioner directly. And they do that because I've seen that as well in Intel when one of these property managers had a problem and he called directly to Intel and got a case number and got us to start working on the EDP that he felt was threatening him. So this is another issue that's not talked about here. And again, a change might be coming.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that like you're paying for this cop, which is 100% cheap labor. I agree with Eric, but you're not just getting that cop, you're getting the liability shield from New York City taxpayers.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think is the biggest problem here. It's like, wait, why are we concerned with a security in a building for? You know, and I'll agree with the individual who was harmed and everybody in the building that day, especially the people of the families that were killed that day, that there was a huge public safety failure that day. Somebody was able to walk down a busy block in the summertime, in the middle of the day, in Midtown Manhattan, with an AR-15, like he was strolling. It was no big deal. And I'll always go back to, and I know there was a lot of back and forth about this, but I'll always go back to, if you had cops patrolling, if we had an omnipresence like we did in the early and mid 2000s, that never happens. That guy never feels safe to do what he did. Could he still do it? Yeah, he could probably still do it. He could probably rush out of his car and rush out, but like he's going to get an immediate quick response. The first response that he got was from the SRG that day. Where was the patrol precinct that day? Why did it take them so long to get there and the SRG was there right away? You know, and when you look at that, you got to say like, all right, yeah, you're right. There probably is liability on the fault of New York City, but you're barking up the wrong tree because you're suing the building security is who you should be suing for the security in the building that day, because it was their plan and their supervision that failed you inside the building. But outside the building, how many sectors were on patrol in that precinct that day?
Yeah.
How many sectors were around that building? What was the What was the radius of a cop car in your vicinity that day as compared to previously in New York City history? How many cops are actually on patrol in New York City currently? And what you're going to find out is if you ever got that, I mean, they'll just settle with you right there because they're never going to want to give you that discovery. But if you ever got that discovery, what you're going to find out is there's nobody on patrol. There's nobody out there on patrol, especially in these precincts. No one's manning these precincts. They're understaffed, they're overworked, and they're not able to provide public safety properly as a result of it. They're running from job to job to job, and they're not patrolling anymore. I was in New York City for a month. I'm not kidding. I think I saw, like, other than when I was in Manhattan and I saw cops on foot post, like actually seeing someone patrolling, never. Actually seeing a plainclothes car looking around for criminal, never. Seeing cops drive by me on their way to a job, straight-headed, looking in front of them, a handful of times. And that was never the case in New York City. Ever, 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 ever. You would see unmarked cars looking around. You would see marked cars looking around. You would see marked cars driving around slowly. You would see unmarked cars driving around slowly. That is gone. That omnipresence is gone. And, and if that lawsuit touched on those issues, then I would be more apt to support it. But as it sits now, I don't think it really has much teeth to
it. Yeah. That's a good point.
Okay, Paul. Sorry. No. I just want to say I'm not a fan of paid detail at all. And I've been saying it for the longest time. The problem with paid detail also is I believe that if you are doing paid detail, are kind of subcontracted out to work in the capacity of a security guard while still wearing the patch of a police officer. And that, to me, I think is a major problem, right? Because there is a big distinction from being a police officer or security guard. As a security guard, I'm a firm believer, you expect to observe, report, and repeat. And whereas a police officer, you expect to be intrusive, right? You're expected not only to make observations, but to be intrusive to those observations. And so that's a problem to me. But yet you're standing in the apparatus of a security guard. And so here's the other problem I always thought. Have you guys done paid detail? I refuse to do it. I don't like it. Have you?
I never did it. Marlon did it. I didn't. I was. If it's not pensionable, I'm not going out there.
So Marlon, you did it.
Yeah.
So tell me this. I'm going to ask some stupid questions, but here's the reality. When you did paid detail, what time did you stand roll call? You didn't, did you?
What? No. You go directly to.
That's my point. So I've always said here's a major problem. You're doing paid detail. Let's say, for instance, you're in the 4-6 precinct. You're in the 120 precinct, whatever precinct you're assigned to. And you're getting paid. You're doing a paid detail in the 19th precinct. What do you know about that precinct? How many sectors turn out in that precinct? Do you know? You didn't even stand roll call. You don't know what sergeant is in charge. You don't know how many cars are out there. You don't know how many specialized units. You know nothing. You're standing in a precinct. You have pretty much zero to little information. You get the information that you get at the security desk at that location. If it's Chase Bank, if it's Citibank, whatever building it's at, you don't know how many sectors are turning out in that precinct. You have no idea what's going on. You listen to the radio, you might have an idea. If you hear this, if you're actually listening to that precinct, you might hear there's a collar. Now you know there's a car down, but you don't know how many cars are there. So ultimately, you're relying on the blanket of the NYPD that there's actually going to be enough people there to assist you if you're in a situation. But the reality is, you don't know how many people are rostered up in that precinct. So you didn't stand roll call. There's a lot of information you didn't get. You don't know who the actual sergeant is unless you took it upon yourself to call the precinct because you know someone there. Hey, how many cars there? Who's in charge? There's very little information, but yet you're standing there as a security guard, expect to be intrusive to utilize those resources that you're really not knowledgeable of. And it's not a precinct that you're working on a constant basis. So you don't know what the potential crime trends are, the crime pluses, unless someone tells you. And even if they give you the information that day, you're just not in the know. And yet you're standing there as a police officer, not a security guard. There's a big distinction. I don't like paid detail. I think it's a terrible idea. It's a great idea for the banks. You're getting the support of entire police department for $60 an hour. Someone's here said it's $49 an hour. Whatever it is, it's cheap labor. But ultimately, as I said, you're getting the support of the entire police department, because the reality is anyone that's doing paid detail has that radio. That radio is $1 million tool. You can get any resource on that radio, and they're getting it for $49 an hour or $60 an hour. You want aviation, you can get it. You want a drone, you could probably get that too. So it's everything at your fingertips, and yet they're only paying $60 an hour. But you're standing there in the position of a security guard, expected to be a intrusive police officer. I don't like it. What are your thoughts, Marlon?
I mean, how much paid detail would a lot of these businesses need if if crime was actually really down? You know, that's another question. But
None. None.
But yeah, I agree with Eric. I mean, although I did a lot of paid detail, I basically bought my house off paid detail too. You know, I just did so much of it. It was very, very helpful. You know, but there are many problems with it, and I had to take action a couple of times on paid detail. In fact, one time I mentioned this story before. I was on the west side of just by Central Park over there. I forgot what street it is, just at the end of Central Park on the west side. And I'm across the street, and then some group of kids are popping off rounds in the air across the street. And there's a big road there. I forgot what street it is. I'm not too big on Harlem, you know, so I'm not too familiar with the area. But they popped shots off, and then they ran eastbound, and I ran across the street. And you know, by the time I had to cut through traffic, they were gone already. But I had to put it over the radio. But I stopped a dude on the east side, you know, who moments ago the squad had told me he just like robbed somebody. But turns out they already spoke to him when I stopped him, and you know, I had to do a 250 for him afterwards because you know I had to let him go and take off the cuffs. So I had to take action there, and after a while, you know, I began to realize that, you know, the money's just not worth it anymore because I'm having to give up so much time, so much travel time, and then I'm always tired. So I said, you know what, I've done enough, and you know, that's it for me. But in those precincts, when I did those details, I was unaware of the conditions in those areas, and that's Eric's point. And it's not so much the program that's bad, even though, you know, it is cheap labor and for those corporations that are being paid for by the taxpayer. But in terms of awareness, it's the fault of the NYPD, not the fault of per se the program itself. It's the fault of the NYPD that nobody from the precinct just comes around and tells you or tells the post, hey bro, you know, keep in mind so and so happens across the street, there's a big gang beef here or whatever. We just don't talk to cops that are doing paid detail in the area. So those cops are completely unaware of their surroundings. Sometimes you're not familiar with the location, so you don't even know where the precinct boundaries are, or you know, there are cops who don't even know the right radio frequency to be on when they go there. Some of them don't even turn on their radios when they get there, you know? So there are a lot of problems with it, but those problems are related to the NYPD itself. And the organization is, like I said before, it's broken. Okay. And it's broken when it comes to training, when it comes to sharing intelligence, and many other things.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, yeah, who says it? He had told you so back when he says it's easier to sue local government than a giant like the NFL. Yeah, absolutely. You know, the defense, the liability defense put up by the NFL is going to be much greater than it is going to be by New York City. You know, you're going to get some attorney that you're like, this is the person that's trying this case. Yeah, all right. How much to settle? You know, like that's the thing. But I think bigger than the cheap labor, bigger than having access to the NYPD, because I could just call 911 and get access to the NYPD right now and get all those resources. I mean, obviously I'll get a much less response time, right? My response time will probably be an hour or two. But I still have access as a regular citizen, and every business does. It's that blanket of protection. It's that blanket of liability that's built in. And I think ultimately when you look at paid detail and you look at a lot of stuff here, it's literally just people building their next career up. That's why all of this is, whether it's from security companies, whether they're looking to be employed at head of security somewhere. What they're doing is it's a business relationship with big businesses, with these big buildings that there's millions of dollars involved, and people are looking to benefit off duty, not on duty. And they're using cops like you, Marlon, and everyone else that needs extra cash. And what they're doing is they're putting you in a really precarious situation. But even bigger than you, they're putting taxpayers in a really, really bad situation. I mean, the things that are coming out today, it amazes me how not every member of city council, the state assembly, the Senate, every past governor in the past 10 years, every mayor in the past 10 years hasn't been perp walked and aren't sitting in federal prison right now. I mean, because the amount of money that's been wasted, and this to me, paid detail, just feels like another big city grift from upper echelon of the NYPD trying to get in bed with the big boys so they could get those big security contracts. And honestly, the same problems that we're having now in the NYPD, where you can't recruit, it's also happening in security. I mean, you think security guards are more competent than cops are today? I mean, no, and so, if in fact it turns out that Detective Islam was inattentive in that situation and he was sitting there not paying attention, I mean, I don't think it should come out to shame anybody. I don't think that should come out to shame him or shame his family, but I do think that should come out, and I think that should be built into training for all NYPD officers, because I think, a lot of times I think people get complacent. Complacency kills, right? We know this. It happens often. It happens to every single one of us. I mean, every single one of us here, there are times when you get complacent, you get tired. You have to keep these scenarios in your head of that anything's possible. July, sunny day, peaceful day in New York City. And next thing you know, here comes this maniac coming in and shooting the building up. I mean, did anyone think that was going to happen? No, not even the cops could have predicted that, right? Because if we could have, that would have never happened. Right. And so I think that there's a lot of things here. I know this is kind of a taboo topic, but it shouldn't be, because people lost their lives as a result of it. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm not putting it on the shoulders of Detective Islam, but at the end of the day, it's a public safety failure, however you wrap it up.
Yes. So that's the harsh reality, right? So people don't want to hear it because the reality is it's tragic. This is a tragedy, right? We lost a police officer who was posthumously promoted to detective. He was given the Medal of Honor. And now the question is also, and it's sad to say, but the reality is we have to dig in deep into this because we want to prevent the next attack. We want to prevent the next active shooter. And the reality is we have to pick it apart. We have to do a follow-up, an aftermath, a post-follow-up, a review action, whatever you want to call it. It should be done every time there's some type of tragic incident. And so I often say, John, if you remember, before we actually started this together, when you actually interviewed me, when you were doing it by yourself, here we are almost 4 years ago. And I remember you asked me, what is it to be a good police officer? I said, it's very easy. You just have to be attentive, right? And the job of a police officer, what makes someone a police officer in comparison to a security guard, is knowing your location, knowing your post. And when you're doing paid detail, you don't know that location. That's an unfamiliar location. Even if you are attentive, you're not going to be as attentive. It's not someone you're there on a daily basis. It's all unfamiliar territory, right? It's the same thing when it comes to sports. Why is it that a team who has phenomenal players does better at their home location than when they're away? Because your home team, your home location is familiar territory. It's a place that you're comfortable, right? Anytime right now, John, if I told you, or Ball, if I told you, hey, two teams are going to compete, basketball, football, and you had no idea what teams, and I told you could only pick home or pick away, which team you're going to pick without knowing any sport, any location, you're going to pick the one that's home, right? Because the reality is home court advantage. You know that area. And it's the same thing, even for Islam. I don't know how attentive he was or he wasn't. I do believe a lot of police officers today do not have the same observational skills that we had. Why? Because it's not being taught. I also think we're hiring a lot of police officers that are not necessarily, this is not really their forte. This is not really their wheelhouse. Just not built for policing. They weren't trained properly. They don't have that policing eye. And can it be trained? I do think it can be trained, but it's not something that's being trained at the NYPD now. And I said, and I still say it now, a good police officer forms a baseline every time they're doing police work. If you think about it, Maul and John, every time you went to a post, you may not realize it. To our friends and listeners, you always form a baseline, right? I would say the biggest analogy I always said is you work at a Yankee game. It's 95 degrees out. It's July 5th, whatever the case is. And you work at a Yankee game. what is that going to look like? What's your baseline? You're going to see people wearing Yankee shirts, smiling, laughing, having a good time, drinking beer. But if you see someone wearing a heavy coat, not smiling, that doesn't fit the baseline. So there were numerous details about the active shooter in this case that were missed. He managed to walk steadily in a manner that looked purposeful, carrying a long firearm. So numerous people miss these details, miss these cues. It's almost like sometimes you see these movies. Anybody see that movie Alpha Dog? Anybody ever watch that movie? And every time, so before anyone watches that movie, it's with Justin Timberlake is actually in it, and that's based on a true story. And the kid was kidnapped and killed in that movie, right? But numerous people saw the kid was kidnapped, knew about it, and they show you in the movie, number 25, number 26, that knew about it but never said anything. And it's the same thing here. How many people saw behavioral indicators and maybe they weren't sure what they saw, didn't say anything? So were there behavioral indicators that Islam was aware of, that he saw or he didn't see? And the reality is it's sad, it's tragic that he lost his life. But we have to analyze these things. Were there cues that he missed that could have stopped it? And Rob Lukash put a great comment here earlier about Pat Brosnan talking about how people were able to get close to that desk. So clearly we could see he was the active shooter was walking towards a building. There was no barriers, nothing set up that would actually slow him down in case people missed those cues. So I believe the failure is on everyone. It's the people in the building, the security apparatus, and unfortunately, it may be on Islam also. I haven't seen the video, but how much did he see? How much of the baseline was he aware of? Has he ever worked that post before? Probably not. But what was his level of ability of observational skills? And we don't know unless we speak to cops that worked with him, unless we watch that video. So there were cues that were missed. There's no doubt about it. How do we know that? Because people lost their lives that day. So there were cues that were missed. It's unfortunate to say, but it's the reality.
Yeah, you know. Oh, I'm sorry, John.
No. I thought it was me. You go. I don't know.
No, I was just gonna say that in the past we talked about being prepared for these paid details, and the thing is, a lot of these locations that you do pay detail at, you are there for some mass casualty event. Okay, make no mistake about it. If you're doing it in front of Deutsche Bank in Lower Manhattan, if you're doing it in front of what's the other building I did? I did maybe the Bloomberg building. Yeah. If you're there for those paid details, keep in mind you're not there for no street robbery. Okay. You are there for a mass casualty event. You are there in the event somebody comes there for workplace violence and they want to commit a mass shooting. So it behooves you to be on guard and be prepared for that. And I don't think the job prepares cops enough for that. We talk about the fact that you're there. First of all, you're there with your pea shooter 9mm. Okay. If that perp showed up there with an assault rifle, what are you going to do with that? If somebody shows up there who's well trained in using that assault rifle, what are you going to do with your pea shooter? Okay. Nothing. Okay.
Or multiple assailants.
Exactly. Good luck with that. Remember that it was a while ago for a lot of people, but the images of the North LA shooting back in the day still sticks in my mind with those two guys who showed up and robbed the bank with armor on and walking around with AK-47s with drum barrel magazines on it. If perps show up who really trained and really prepared to kill people, you're not going to do anything with that little gun. And this is why I said the job should train people to use the long guns and have the option of bringing a long gun if you have to do a paid detail at an area that's high profile and that may be a target of a mass shooting. Okay. And the job doesn't do that. And the thing is, what was I going to say? The problem here with the NYPD is that lately we've been using these medals to cover up what actually happened. And I'm bringing that up specifically when it comes to Chief Edwards. Remember, this guy got a medal of valor, I believe. Now, for what? For what exactly? What did he do? Medal of Valor. Well, his sergeant got one too, and his sergeant did even less. Okay, you know. So what did they get a Medal of Valor for? Okay, and so
Almost
for you
killing everybody at
civilians
the
watching,
detail. Almost killing everyone at that detailing, then getting
Yeah.
extremely lucky.
yeah, for
Well,
failing
hold on,
to do
John.
your job as chief and
John,
being
he
prepared.
did hold back Officer Bulgarian. That was very important. He did.
No,
he
yeah,
did
it
try to
wasn't.
stop him.
Yeah, he's trying to stop him from stopping a terrorist. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
It was good.
yeah. So
We didn't want to hurt the
this is
terrorist, Eric.
Exactly.
God forbid he hurt his feelings. I mean, that would have been the worst thing that would have happened.
That
That
able
would have been
trainer
the
really
worst
should.
thing.
right. Yeah, so this is the event I'm talking about for those of you civilians who are not up on this, right? Remember the Gracie Mansion terrorist attack? So these two guys both got an award for doing absolutely nothing, okay? And failing to have SRG there, to have enough of a presence there, okay? And God forbid that was an actual live bomb, they would have been dead right now, okay? So the problem is the NYPD of late has been using these medals to cover up their failures at these events. And listen, we don't know, we've never seen the video of what happened to Detective Islam, but this has to be a conversation because the NYPD again uses these medals to cover up their failures. And if Detective Islam was inattentive and he didn't do his job, then a lot of that failure has to be on the job because the job is not preparing these young guys for the actual job at hand. And I brought this up before. I was just after Detective Islam was murdered. I was driving through Manhattan, and I went to Rockefeller Center, and there was another paid detail there, right? And he sat with his back to the street on a bench in Rockefeller Center, and I was like, I stopped at the light and I was tempted to get out and talk to him and tell him, bro, don't do that. You could tell he was a young guy. But the problem is the job is not preparing these guys for what they have to do as cops. This is a serious business where your failure could end up with your death. Okay. So this is a conversation that needs to be had.
No, 100%, dude. Like I said, that video should be put out and should be put out to every member of the NYPD because this is the job you're on. I hate it, dude. I'm telling you, the cops I seen, they were either on a foot post with their foot on the wall, with their head buried in their phone, or they had the windows up in the car, radio on, and they were straight headed. They had no idea who was on their right, who was on their left, what was happening. God forbid anyone needed help. They would have no idea. They wouldn't even heard it. They probably had their music on with the AC blasting. I mean, like, I was like, what the hell is that? I always hated that. I hated that when I was a cop. I hated that when I was a supervisor. I hate it even more now as a civilian, especially as my kids get older and they're out there. And I'm like, what if someone's getting robbed? I tell you have no idea. Like you're not even looking. You don't want it. You don't even want to engage, And to be fair, I did run into some guys on foot post or like on the ferry and they were attentive and they were aware of their surroundings. They were actually aware that I was there. You know what I mean? Like I had some good interactions too, where I saw some cops that are real cops, but I would say the overwhelming majority of it is a big failure. And someone asked here, and like me and Eric never did it, so I guess we'll ask it to you, Marlon. Was there any training for paid detail? Like, did you have to qualify to get paid detail training? Like, obviously everyone that's doing security business has a New York State security guard license. The armed security needs armed security license.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't you have had, in your opinion, don't you believe you should have been issued those and had to go through some type of training prior to now doing corporate security instead of just saying, hey, let's plop this untrained cop in here in a situation that they're really not even on the job trained for at all? You have less training when it comes to security of that building or the internal workings of that building than those people working there that day that are unarmed. So, what are your thoughts on that? Were you ever trained? Should there be a training? What do you think about that?
Well, if you were to get your security guard license while you're still active in the job, it's a lot easier because all the training you get on the job is that training for security, as opposed to me doing it off the job. Now I have to go through that whatever training they have. It's different. It's different if you get that license while you're still active on the job.
But for
And-
paid detail, were you specifically giving a training and were you qualified prior to doing paid detail, or did you just get the blessing? Here you go. You're going to do paid detail now.
That's what it is. You get it signed. You get approval from your CO. Once you hit 5 years, I think it used to be. And there you go. Sign up for paid detail. Go on the portal on the intranet and NYPD intranet and sign up for paid details. And there you go. You know, you're how good you are at paid detail is basically how good of a cop you are. You know, because again, in this day and age, you have to be prepared for anything. You know, somebody could be, need medical aid at your paid detail, and you're the only guy there. Or there could be a shooting outside. There could be something going down, and you're the only guy there. And again, the precinct doesn't know you're doing work there. So God forbid your radio goes dead too, which happens too, because especially with the older radios, you're it.
And Eric, just one question for you.
Sure.
What do you think? Donahue brought it up earlier in the chat. He said that has Scott Monroe issued a statement in regards to this lawsuit? Do you think it's on the union to issue a statement in defense of Detective Islam?
Oh, Marlon, you gonna take a stab at that? What are you gonna?
Well, I don't think they're gonna. Keep in mind, right? Last week we had an incident where a detective was shot by another detective, right? And the initial narrative was that the job tried to let the media run with that narrative that the perp shot up the car. Well, and the job tried to do it in a way without explicitly saying they were going to do it because again, it would be prejudicial to the perp, because the perp is still arrested for being in possession of a legal firearm. But the job did it in a slick way that they did it with Edwards, where they allude to certain things without actually saying it, and that way the media would run with that narrative. What did we see Scott Monroe do? Well, he just furthered that narrative rather than to come on out and say, "Listen, we got a problem on the job. If we're getting blue on blue shooting here." Scott didn't speak up about it. Scott still hasn't spoken up about it. So I don't expect he's going to issue a statement here, because he runs with whatever narrative that Tish or Mamdani or whoever else it comes down from 1PP tells him to do.
So I say absolutely. I think Scott Monroe must make a statement on this. Why? Because this is and Scott always says it himself. Oh, I care about the membership. So the membership doesn't mean when you're on duty for the NYPD. Your membership means your membership. That should be 24/7. And that should be whether your membership is active or retired or removed from the job. That's your membership. Are you a member only during the time that you're actually working for the NYPD? So yes, he absolutely should make a statement. He should make a statement to say, listen, we're here to stand and protect the reputation of our detective. We're here to stand and protect him from potential litigation. We're here to protect him. That's what we do. We stand for our membership. So absolutely, he should be making a statement. This comes back to the question I've been saying earlier. Who's the subcontractor here? Because according to general municipal law 50K, a police officer is protected and indemnified under municipal law 50K within New York City when you're working within the scope of your employment and you're acting appropriately. So the question is, are you working within the scope of your employment when you're an NYPD police officer dispatched and subcontracted doing paid detail at a location? Are you indemnified? Are you protected? Are you protected from litigation? And that's where it comes down to. Is the NYPD going to act on your behalf because you're acting within the scope of your employment, or it's not the scope of your employment because you're now subcontracted, independently subcontracted at a location such as Citibank or Chase Bank or the NFL location? So that really comes down to that question. How are you protected from litigation? And the reality is the cops should be thinking about this when you're doing paid detail. And ultimately, is it really worth $60 an hour for those questions that are really unanswered? How are you protected? Are you protected from litigation? And God forbid something does happen, how much resources do you have in comparison before? How much liability is on you? Now, someone asked a great question here earlier. Jose Caraballo, and I was hoping you could answer on this, Marlon, also, since you actually did pay detail. I never did it myself, and neither did John. I know how the process works, but so when ICOs, right, which is common names for cops that watch the podcast and network, you know what ICO is. But for anyone here, it's just a police enthusiast. An ICO is integrity control officer at a precinct, which is usually the rank of lieutenant. There's also an assistant, but usually the rank of lieutenant, and it's the responsibility of that integrity control officer to check the pay detail locations and make sure the cops are at their locations. So Jose Caraballo here said, while the ICOs actually doing those checks, but not only are they doing those checks, and I'm sure Marlon doing pay detail, the integrity control officers probably checked to make sure you were there. But did they actually check and ask if you're aware of the tactical locations? Like how much knowledge did you have and information did you have of your post that day? Or is it just a check the box? So Marlon, could you speak on that?
Yeah, it's just a check the box. They don't ask you anything about it. They, pay detail also has their supervisors that come around and check if you're there. And sometimes we had one sergeant, I think her name was Brown, who, when I was doing it at, I did it at the Goldman Sachs building. She would come around and check. She would ask you if you have your mask and your escape hood. It was so stupid, so completely dumb. And you tell her that it's in your car, and she would have a problem with it. So they'd give you a warn and admonish. Yeah, but she would never ask you questions like, "What are you doing here?" or like if you've been briefed on the area, or you think they would show up and tell you, "Hey, listen, we spoke to so and so. You spoke to the precinct, and they got this condition going on here. So, pay attention." Yeah, they don't tell you any of that. They come to check the boxes, and that's that. Make sure you're there, and that's that.
Yeah, just on Scott Monroe, I absolutely agree with you, Eric. I think that it's like we always say that nobody cares about cops in life. They only care about them in death. And what I've really come to realize is they don't even really give a shit about them in death. They only care about them in the immediate aftermath of their death. In the immediate aftermath, there's a time to grift, and there's a time for awards, and there's a time to let me get the front row at the funeral, and let me show everybody who I am and how good of a person I am and how much I care for line of duty. But then, now you have somebody that was removed. He was murdered. And I don't care if he was negligent. It doesn't matter. He was still your member. At that moment in time, he did. Cops are human. They're not going to fit. They're not going to be perfect 100% of the time. It just is what it is. And people that have this thought of police officers as they're somehow superhuman, and they can't have a brain lapse, or they can't answer a text from their wife for 2 seconds. Is that being inattentive? Because my wife texts me something about my daughter. Hey, I need you to get whatever after school when you get out of paid detail, or I'm having an issue, or, oh my God, something's happening. Is that being inattentive? Yeah, it is. I mean, for the public, is it really being inattentive? No, you're a human. You know what I mean? You're inattentive for a split second. And again, that security failure did not fall on Detective Islam that day. That security failure fell on New York City mayor, fell on the police commissioner, fell on the commanding officer of that precinct for not speaking up and having more manpower there. And it fell on the security staff and the security supervisors of that entire building, as well as that whole security plan failed. And I know that we said that Pratt Brosnan walked it and he was able to access it for a minute. But, I would play the video again, but obviously we would get taken down. So we're not going to play the video. That individual, the murderer, strolled down that block. It took way longer than a minute for him to get there. People didn't commit crimes in New York City because they felt like they would get arrested. Perps drove around New York City when they had guns or drugs in the car because they felt that they would get stopped and get arrested. Now people feel free and clear to walk in Midtown Manhattan with an assault rifle. That is not a failure on Detective Islam. Whether he was on his phone or he wasn't has nothing to do with that. And Detectives Endowment Association should be reminding people, and every other union should be reminding people every day what the work that entails that cops do each and every day, day in and day out, while they're alive, while they're accused of something, and when they're murdered because of doing their job or wearing a uniform. And I don't see that from anybody. I see a bunch of grifters. I see, and it's not just the unions, it's everybody. I see it from the fraternals. I see all the bullshit, all the party police. I see it from all these not-for-profits. This, that, oh, Blue Lives Matter, back to blue, this, that, the other thing. Nobody gives a shit. When have you ever heard anybody ever actually speak on real police issues except for us here on the Finest Unfiltered? When have you ever heard it? I've never heard it. I've never heard it. I've never heard anyone speak about issues that are affecting the rank and file, that are affecting the New York City Police Department, that are affecting institutional law enforcement across this country. I haven't heard any of our biggest supporters, the Bill Brattons of the world, every fucking retired chief of department there is. I haven't heard one of them. I haven't heard one of them speak about the issues currently facing law enforcement and currently affecting public safety. It's just a grift and a gravy train, and everybody wants to be on it, and everybody wants to stay silent. And you got some of them pretending they're on the right side of it, but not saying anything when shit goes down. And here's just another example of
it. You know, here's the reality also. Let's say, for instance, and Marlon, you touch on this, spot on. Let's say we haven't seen the video, but rhetorically speaking, let's say Detective Islam was the most attentive police officer ever, and he observed the active shooter walking towards him with a long firearm. Would it really make a difference? If there's not much he could do, as Marlon said earlier, even if he made that observation with the 9mm, there's really not much you could do other than really get people to a location and shelter them in place, maybe for a second. But if that active shooter made eye contact with Detective Islam, he still could advance on him easily, because the difference between a long firearm and having a handgun is suppression fire. It's something that the job never talks about, because easily, if I have that long gun, if I want to advance and get to Detective Islam, even if he's attentive, all I have to do is fire suppression fire. And what does that mean? It's just fire, even if I don't have an intended target, just fire so that I can actually advance and move. Something that you can't do with a handgun. So even if Detective Islam was the most attentive police officer, it may not have made a difference. And I think that's a key factor to talk about here. I don't think people may talk about. Now, the question is whether he was a hero or not. I don't know. I haven't seen the video. And unfortunately, with the NYPD, it has come to the point that if someone is killed in the line of duty, they're automatically pinned as a hero. And every death of a police officer is a tragedy, but not every police officer that loses their life is a hero. And so I haven't seen the video. So until I see different, I'll agree with him to get the Medal of Honor, because I haven't seen different. But the video may show something different. I haven't seen it yet. So I'll have to go on what we know right now. But that's the reality. It's unfortunate and sad, but the reality is not every death of a police officer is a hero. If you're standing somewhere and you're not attentive, in this case, you may just be a victim. I haven't seen the video. I don't know. Every police officer that loses their life is a victim. It's tragic, but not everyone's a hero.
What if you're inattentive and then you hop over a barrier?
Medal of Valor. And then if you kick an IED, you should get the Medal of Valor, because that's really smart. Because you know what? You have 2 feet, so you only need to walk with 1. So that's a really smart move. And when you stop someone from beating on a terrorist, you should definitely get honored for that. I think that's the first thing, most important. So great job, Chief Edwards, and what's his name, Sergeant? What was that guy's
Navarro,
name?
I think it was.
He was so insignificant. I don't remember his name. All I know is he did kick an IED. Not too bright, brother. So, what are your thoughts on that? What do you guys think? I think that even if he was the most attentive cop, I don't think he could have stopped it. I really don't think so. Mom, you explained it well.
Yeah. Again, I think we have to go back to training on this, because keep in mind also that, I mean, we get firearm trained twice a year, and lately it's been once a year because they're too busy detailing cops out, right? In my final years, I only went to the range like once a year, okay? Because we either had COVID, we had protests, we had some BS, and you know, I never got scheduled for the range. I got scheduled once. And unfortunately, living in a New York City metro area, it's not like we can go to a range. There are ranges all over the place that you can just walk in on your day off and go train. So the problem is not just dealing with a perp with a long gun or assault rifle. I use that term because it's easier for the civilians who watch this to understand what gun I'm referring to, right? So it's harder to go up against a perp with that. And also think of it, he's a young cop. He might never had even experience going after somebody with a firearm. It's kind of like a wake-up call when something like that really happens and it's you that are facing it. So and you that's facing it and you that's unprepared to face it. So, but again, just a reminder, we haven't seen the video yet, but we're bringing these topics up because it needs to be talked about, because again, the goal is to prevent this from being repeated and prevent another cop from losing their life here.
And innocent civilians that were also murdered that day. That and that's exactly the other thing. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's real telling that the NFL wasn't sued, that building security wasn't sued, and only New York City and the NYPD was. Easy target, right? Easy target because it's made up. Like the public safety apparatus in New York City is literally comprised of weak cowards at this point. Weak, utter cowards that will not fight back, will not push back, will not call out the issues, will not fix the issues even when they're out there in the media and everyone sees it. So I think, 100% it had to be talked about. We don't know, but I do think that video should be absolutely publicly released. Why was the injured party able to see the video and the public wasn't? Why was the injured party able to see the video and members of the NYPD, members of that security staff weren't? That video should absolutely 100% be released, and the failures that are there should be noted. An after action plan should be created and it should be put into place. Now, does the after action plan have to be public? No, absolutely it doesn't. But those failures should be made public and they should be corrected so that they never happen again. And what we're seeing is like something bad happens. And in the case of that Gracie Mansion bombing, what we're seeing is something bad happens. They tout the failure as a success. They don't learn from it. They don't do an after action review, and they don't reassess, and they go forward with the same failed plan. And they basically risk innocent New York City life. They risk their life and they risk the cops' lives over and over again to cover up the political failures at the top of our elected leaders and their appointed officials. So I think the whole thing is absolutely infuriated. And I don't, there's a lot of more things I'd like to say that I'm just not going to say because I'm going to offend literally everyone and their mother. So I'll just leave it at that. I'll just leave it at that. The failure, wherever it was, needs to be addressed. Wherever that is, it does not lay on the shoulders of Islam at all. It has nothing to do with him. It's much greater.
I agree.
He was just a pawn in the game.
Spot on, brother. He is a pawn in the game. And the reality is, but here's the sad part. Is he really a hero? I mean, what did he do? He was a victim. He was a victim doing pay detail, standing in a location that he wasn't aware of, with a 9mm that he had no chance against an active shooter carrying a long firearm. He had zero chance in that position. So is he really a hero or is he more of a victim? Because what did he do that's actually heroic? Every police officer, you stand your post every day. Yes, it's heroic that you take the job, but is it really a heroic moment? And Marlon, you alluded to it earlier. And they kind of rubber stamp it, right? If a cop is a victim of a tragedy and losing their life, they kind of just stamp it. Either they give them first grade detective posthumously upon their death, or they give him the Medal of Honor, and then people don't talk about the issues, right? Oh, he got the Medal of Honor, he's a hero. Yes, of course, it's heroic being a police officer, it's noble, but are you really a hero in that moment? And the reality is, I believe in tough love. So who really loves Detective Islam? It's us, it's the Finest Unfiltered, it's our friends and listeners that are talking about this. Is it really the NYPD? Is it really the unions? Because if you really loved him, you wouldn't be saying, let's not call Detective Islam a hero. Let's call him a victim. Let's talk about the things that went wrong so it doesn't happen again. So someone else isn't posthumously promoted. What do we do to prevent this? How do we teach our cops to do pay detail in a much safer manner? Or if we can't, maybe we should just eradicate this whole program. Or maybe if we are going to do this program, maybe you should be wearing a suit, maybe a different type of uniform, so you're not as a target. Because you are a target. You're standing there with the weight of the NYPD, but do you really have the weight of the NYPD? Yes, you do in some way, but it's not the same. I kind of correlate to when you're off duty. When you're off duty as a cop, you don't have the same resources available to you as you're on duty. The same thing for pay detail. Pay detail, you have more resources than when you're off duty, but do you really have the full-fledged resources as you do on duty? Not necessarily, because you do stand roll call. And roll call is a big thing. And if you're in a specialized unit, you might say, well, I don't stand roll call. Yes, when you're doing anti-crime, you might not stand roll call, but you sure are there with your team. The precinct knows who you are. You're part of the everyday function. It's far different. And so I think Detective Islam, and forgive me for saying this, and I might offend people, Mr. Rowley, I think he's far more of a victim than he is a hero. I think it's tragic what happened. And I think whether he made the observation or not, he was a dead man. He had no chance in that situation. If I was in that situation, and I think I'm pretty trained, damn good, and you, John, and Marlon, same thing, and unfortunately, we would be in the same position, God forbid. We wouldn't have a chance either. You know, it's the same thing. You don't bring a knife to a gunfight, but having a 9mm in that situation, it's a lose-lose situation, especially with someone that has a little bit of training or they have determination. So it's tragic. It's sad. But ultimately, I think he's a victim. And I think Scott Monroe and every union should be speaking of how do we protect our members? How do we protect them and save their lives? How do we protect them also from litigation? How do we protect them so that their families don't have to be dragged out in this? Because their families, the family of Detective Islam doesn't need this also. They need to be able to move on. All right. People forget about that. They talk about, Islam, right? He's a hero. But there's a family right now. Does anybody ever say, damn, what's everyday life for his wife right now? What's everyday life for his kids right now? What's their relationship? How are they feeling? Does anybody say that? Because if they really cared to Miss Islam, how many times did Scott Monroe call you? How many times did they reach out to you? I used to make this joke. It's the reality. It's sad. But the biggest funeral I've ever been to, and I've been to a lot of funerals, unfortunately, with the job, was Timoshenko. It was the biggest thing I've ever seen. It was unbelievable. John, I think you were there. I remember you and I actually seen each other. The Timoshenko funeral was huge. Probably one of the biggest ones I've ever seen. And I used to say, man, in 7 years, 5 years right now, it's sad. But what if Timoshenko's mom calls the one police plaza and say, hey, I just got this parking ticket. Can you help me out? They're going to go, who? Timoshenko, who? And that's the reality. You're right, John. They love him, but there's a short period that love doesn't last long. It's unfortunate, but here's the reality.
Yeah, that's a good point. How many on the job remember the widows of cops who died 10 years ago, 20 years ago, the thing is that, there's so much systematic failure in the NYPD that it's not just that program again. It's just that all those systematic failures become evident in the paid detail program because, again, you're one cop and you're in an unfamiliar territory, and when things go sideways, you see all those failures coalesce, So I think the failures are systematic with the NYPD. The failures begin in the academy, and they continue when you're in the precinct, and they continue, it's from the leadership on down is the failure. And, even if you were to change a paid detail program, again, those failures just are evident in that paid detail program, but there are other failures in the NYPD too. And the problem is that it's systematic. And the best, if you care about slaying cops, the best thing you can do, one of the best things you could do is talk about the issues that caused their death so that we can not repeat the circumstances that led to their death. Okay. And the job doesn't do that. Okay. We forget about you. You'll have a nice parade. You'll have a nice funeral with the helicopters flying over you. The city will talk about you for a week, and then nobody will care. Okay. Nobody will care. And in 10 years from now, nobody's going to care about your family. Okay. So that it's a major problem. Okay. And again, we need to fix the entire job is broken. Okay. From the head down to, that new recruit that just walked into the academy.
Yeah. And this whole new a pool of recruitment candidates coming out of traffic, NYPD traffic, I think that needs to be looked at too, because you have guys that were trained in wearing a uniform, unarmed, not trained in policing, literally walking around with their head up their ass. Now they're NYPD cops years later after being put into a totally different mindset and a totally different type of training. And I think you have to really look at how effective police officers they've been. And I think you should start by looking at the president of the Guardians Association, Pat Gordon, look at his career and see, and then go down and then take everybody. Have they been effective at their job? Are they a danger to themselves and others? And I think, that is our new training, is where we're going after recently immigrated people to this country, people who have been trained in a whole different manner that's not policing. They're code enforcement violators. And now you're putting them into a really, really dangerous environment in neighborhoods they don't know, in a city that they don't know, in a country that they don't know, in languages that they often don't speak. Because, let's face it, man. Even when I was still on, 5 years ago, I would listen to the radio and I'm like, how is this guy a lieutenant or a captain? I can't understand a word he's saying. I can't understand a word he's saying. How could he properly communicate if, God forbid, I'm shot, to get an ambulance here? He can't even get help to himself. How is he going to get help to me? And now he's my supervisor? And all of this DEI bullshit, it really starting to have really long lasting effects on the NYPD, and it's diminished public safety, and it's literally diminished our quality of life throughout. Not on a different topic, but just even when it comes to schooling, right? You see now, what do they want to do? Black youth are having a problem getting into Stuyvesant across New York City. Only 3 black youths were eligible to get accepted into Stuyvesant. And instead of looking at why and fixing those problems, they want to just force equity. We just just push them in, even though they're not qualified for it. And that's what we did in the New York City Police Department. That's what we're currently doing in the New York City Police Department still. And in 10 years, how bad it is now, it's going to be much worse. It's going to be much, much worse, because the guys that were actually competent, the guys and girls that were actually competent, are all going to be gone. And you're going to be left with people that have no business being in policing. You're going to have left with supervisors that have no business ever even being cops, never mind supervising cops, So, and it's just becoming more and more evident every day, every video we watch, everything we see. And I'll tell you, that whole 30-30 movement, I got to look at the latest stats. It has obviously worked in the New York City Police Department. Because, again, all I see is short girls. I see girls that look like my wife as cops, and I'm like, I don't think my wife should ever be a cop. And I think she'll tell you the same thing. That she has no business responding to a 911 job, responding to a mentally ill individual, responding to a crazed male robbing someone, responding to an act of assault, a burglary, a robbery. She'll tell you the same thing. She's 4'11". She's 100 pounds with clothes on, like with winter clothes on. Like, she's going to tell you the same thing.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I laugh because since John, since you're 5'2", you guys make a great couple.
What's the length on my pants? What's the length on my pants? Like a 20.
Your seam keeps getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
John's
I look like a monster at 5'2".
There's no doubt about it. Look, I'm not picking on the Bangladeshi community or anyone that's from Bangladesh, but we have seen a common theme, a pattern. That there's a lot of people from that region that have found themselves as traffic agents. And a lot of those traffic agents have moved over to the police department. And I think, I've spoken to numerous people from the police department who have worked with some of these guys. And it's a far better gig for them to be in the police department. They're actually doing less work as a cop. Well, less work because they think it's less work because they just don't understand the training. For some of these traffic agents, they're writing 100 parking tickets a day. They become a cop, and they may be standing at a location in transit and just watching their pulse of the day, and they don't have to write all the summonses. So it's a far better gig. I do think the NYPD has had a consorted recruitment effort with the traffic agents, and it really fits the mold. A lot of the traffic agents have a far different demeanor, and they move over to the police department much softer demeanor. It's unfortunate. It's just a pattern that we've seen. And I think that's what they're targeting for the police department, right? I often say it. If you're an alpha white male, you're not getting the job. I mean, I seen the 360. We all talk about. You guys recently did the discussion about when I was out recovering from surgery. I'm still recovering, but I just, I missed the network. I love doing this. But when you guys spoke about the numbers for the police department, that 360 internet for the NYPD is an outright lie. One of the numbers that they give is the demographics for the NYPD in comparison to the demographics for the city. And according to that 360 internet, it's about 30% white. I believe that's a complete lie. I mean, I left the job in September 2022, and you looked around and you really didn't see too many white faces anymore. Now you look at pictures of recruitment pictures and graduation photos or just pictures of cops. I see barely any white cops. Now, does it matter? I don't care what color they are. They can do the job great. But the reality is there was an effort, and there's still effort going on right now, of eradicating alpha white males. How do we know? Hello, I'm retired. John's retired. Here's evidence right here. There's plenty of people on this chat right now that should still be working in the police department. Mike Smith, retired detective. Here's another alpha white male. Gone. Many other of our friends and listeners here who should still be employed by the police department. So there was and still is a concerted effort to remove the alpha white male. So those numbers are a complete lie. I don't care what color they are, but we need to target people that actually have a head and a mindset for doing policing. Get back to the roots of street kids in New York City, kids that played sports, people that are involved in that type of environment with a hierarchy, people that have been in the military. We don't see that in the police department. It's not only is the training not to the level it should be, but the people that have the potential are not there also. Right? I would always say when I would look to put people in special operations in plainclothes, I didn't care if people had the knowledge yet. I just wanted to look for people that had the potential. I always said I could teach them. And I don't see that we have a lot of people with that potential.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be one of our many haters. One of the many organizations that hate us is ready to say something. Big, ready to say, oh, they said something about a Bengali community. They're this, they're that. And don't get it twisted, guys. Okay, it's got nothing to do with the Bengali community. In fact, one of my good friends is Bengali, and he's a cop. He's not he's not a traffic agent. He's a cop. Okay, right. And so it's not about community. It's about the mentality that a lot of the job is letting in through the doors right now that just aren't prepared for what they're going to see. And the job is doing nothing to prepare them for it in the academy and out the academy. And that is the problem. So, John, we do need to get back to getting more kids that grew up. To me, it seems like grew up in New York City and are familiar with, they have the attitude that prepares them for the city, And I've seen too many signs that tells me that some of these kids don't, realize like what they're what they're in for, and they don't seem to be aware that how the stakes are really high on this job,
Well, look, I mean, this is what you're seeing is like the plan come to fruition. Like I talk about Eric Adams a lot. Right. I talk about a lot about how he said he was going to civilianize the police department, about how he was going to lower the head count, how he was going to, stop the enforcement. But that didn't just come from Eric Adams. And the same thing with Zohran Mamdani. Like Zohran Mamdani's been getting his ass kicked for it now, but that didn't come from him either. This is the Democratic Party's agenda of emasculating and ultimately with the goal of ultimately abolishing the police, make them so incompetent that you don't even want them, even supporters of the police. You're like, yeah, I don't need this guy. I called 911. He's useless. Get rid of him. I don't need him. I'd rather start my own community. I'll lean into the volunteerism. Listen to Bill de Blasio. This is Bill de Blasio in 2020, right? Listen to him. To me, when I listen to this, I'm like, I hear Eric Adams. I hear Zohran Mamdani. I hear every member of city council, all of the Democrats. Again, I'll put the disclaimer for Phil Wong. Like, He's a common sense guy. But the Democratic Party in New York City is about abolishing the NYPD. And this is the goal, is placing unqualified people in there, placing guardians in there, not warriors. And what they're not telling you is, no, you actually need warriors. You know what we needed in that building that day? You needed a warrior, not just a guardian. You know what you needed around that building that day? You needed warriors, not just guardians. Because what are guardians going to do? What are guardians going to do when there are nefarious people coming in with really bad intentions like that individual? They're going to ultimately turn to victims. Here's Bill de Blasio touting to you in 2020, telling you how great he's doing.
Do you see community leadership and activists playing a bigger role in or with the police department? And if so, to what extent?
Yes. Juliet, we have tried now for over 6 years to try and deepen the role of community engagement with the police, whether it's traditional methodologies like police precinct councils, which do really important grassroots work, whether it is the work of the Cure Violence movement, which is a different approach, but one where there's still dialogue, whether it is listening to activists who have called for change and reform and all the things that we have done. Way back, it's the end of stop and frisk, but think of everything else over the years. The reduction in arrests, 180,000 fewer arrests in 2019 than in 2013. The reduction in incarceration, 11,000 people in Rikers the day I came in the door in our correction system, 4,000 today. Many, many reforms and changes that came from the voices of communities. We have to deepen that. What I talked about with the activists that Charlene and I met with Sunday is a series of additional changes we have to make. And so, yes, the NYPD needs to listen. City Hall needs to listen. I need to listen. We need to keep going farther. And I think we can in a way that supports the safety of the people of this city. Because there is a right way to police and there is a right way to make sure we work with the grassroots. The truest safety comes from the grassroots. And that's what those voices are calling for. And that's what we can achieve.
So there it is. He's telling you right there. Less incarceration. We went from 11,000 people in Rikers when I first came in to, at that time, they only had 4,000. What now we almost got back up to 7,000 because of the failures of him, his administration, Andrew Cuomo, and the rest of the New York Democrats. We're almost up to 7,000, and it doesn't appear that it's enough. It appears that there's a lot more people that need to be placed in jail, long-term solution to keep New Yorkers safe. And at the same time, this is prior to the whole open borders, right? Letting in all of these people that really don't belong in New York City either, and the crime that they brought with them, the third world type of crime. So this was the plan. And like he said, we need to keep going further. And Eric Adams went further, and now Zohran Mamdani's going further.
Yeah, I saw some comments in there saying that de Blasio was the beginning of the end, and yeah, I can't disagree with that. You know, a lot of the things we're dealing with is in the shadow of all of that, and keep in mind also that there are a lot of people in Mamdani's administration who worked under de Blasio as well, and I don't believe that's a coincidence either. You know, but you know, I talked before about how the progressivism is a cover for austerity, and austerity and a diminishing quality of service, you know, and quality of life. And I think what you're seeing, including in the department, when the department lets in people who are inadequate, is that really that austerity measures. Okay, the job can't afford to get the real quality anymore. Okay. And it doesn't also want real quality, because if it got real quality, and then a lot of the things they want to push couldn't happen. Okay. So you're getting lowered quality in not just the city and your quality of life, but you're getting a lower quality of service from the city government as well. And so I agree with what was said. It was just the beginning of the end, so to speak, with de Blasio.
And the funny part about that is I watched de Blasio speaking there. If we did a meme, and I'm sure Marlon, you have a chance. If you remove and change the face of de Blasio and you put Eric Adams there, or if you change it, you could have de Blasio's face, Eric Adams, or Zohran Mamdani. It's the same message. And that's what we've been trying to tell you. De Blasio is Adams. Adams is Zohran Mamdani. Zohran Mamdani is de Blasio. It's the same thing. You've been getting fed the same bullshit for all these years in New York City. So is it on the shoulders of Zohran Mamdani completely? Absolutely not. Is it on the shoulders of de Blasio completely? Absolutely not. It's on the shoulders of the Democratic Party. And it starts with de Blasio stemming throughout New York City. And I think it goes even further, and it starts with Barack Obama. I think that's really where it starts with 2009. I think that's where we really start to see this movement on the federal level, and we see it spread into cities, in blue cities throughout this entire country. That's where I think it starts from. That's my political opinion, of course. But I do think, we talk about the Mamdani, the three-car Mamdani. It's the same thing when it comes to former Mayor Bill de Blasio. Eric Adams and Zohran Mamdani, they're all part of that three-car Mamdani. They're all the same person. It's the same message. You change their faces, it may smell different, it may look different, but it's all the same. It's the same bullshit. And that's the reality. And it fell in our laps. And I do think it started with Barack Obama. I think it spread throughout the entire country. I think ultimately we talk about it a lot because our centric focus is on New York City and the NYPD. But you go to a city like LA, a city like Chicago, it's the same thing. It's all one big giant mirror. And it's on the federal level. Thank you, Barack Obama. Thank you for destroying the law enforcement profession. It took a long time to get to this point. So if we ever want to get back to it, I think it's going to take far more work, far more effort, and it would take a lot longer to get it back. It took this many years to destroy it. I think it was a lot longer. And it's not getting any better with this 30-30 movement. We're just destroying it little by little every day. I'm surprised it survived this long. It just shows you that law enforcement really does attract good people, not just in the NYPD, but throughout the entire country. Good people that want to do the job with failed leadership, failed policies, failed rhetoric, and they're still doing the job. So hats off to people that are good people. So for the people out there that are just completely anti-cop and hate cops, well, try it yourself. See how it works out.
Yeah, I always go back to Barack Obama too with that whole he acted stupidly, he shouldn't have did that. Like talking about the sergeant that pulled the guy out of the window, the professor was in his own house. Sergeant didn't know that. He just saw a guy going through the window. Guy's like, oh, it's because I'm black. He's like, no, it's because you were going through a window. And then when I stopped you were freaking out and you wouldn't identify yourself. So I go back to that too, but I really think that law enforcement itself has eaten itself. And I think what the Democratic Party realized is that law enforcement at the top, at supervisors, at the very, very top, the upper echelon nationally, are comprised of morally cowardice individuals who will sell their own mother out for a pay raise, to stay on the grift, to maintain their status in the police department, and they'll do anything. And then they've just capitalized on it. So I can't sit there and blame any of the Marxists. I can't. I literally, when I think about it and I go back, I think about the police commissioners, I think about the chief of departments, I think about all the heads of the New York City Police Department, and I just think what cowardly, spineless individuals that they are, how they let this happen, knowingly let this happen, not only have destroyed their profession, but have upended the quality of life throughout this country. And I ultimately think it falls on the police. And then I understand why people, like an uninformed public, can't stand the police, because we have police inside that are completely uninformed and they don't know what's happening either. And they're blaming the public. And it's like, no, it's not the public. And to the cops and to the people that are the public, it's like, it's not the cops. It's who you're electing and it's who they're appointing. And until we start to grasp with that reality, we're gonna continue to have this problem. So, but before we get back to it, because there's a lot of bullshit I think we got to cover, it's time for a message from our partners over at Kalshi. The 2026 primaries are taking shape, and you can trade the biggest political races on Kalshi. On Kalshi, you can trade major primary election outcomes and the biggest political storylines as they happen. Will the chair of the Senate Rules Committee, Mitch McConnell, reside his office before the midterms? Right now, McConnell resigning before the midterms is currently trading at 21%, meaning a $100 trade would pay out $423. Now, if he passes away, there's a you got to look at that, because then that bet is going to just stay where it was. We just saw Lindsey Graham had just passed away, so that changes. This trade, is only if he resigns before the midterms this November, right? So on Kalshi, you're trading against live peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code FINEST to get $20 when you trade 20. KALSHI, Kalshi. Trade on anything. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory.
Yeah. I think the question is, how long before the body decomposes?
Yeah.
When did Greg kick in?
Well, look, Lindsey Graham was perfectly healthy. He was like giving a speech. He was on the news the day before, and then the next day he'll get an announcement. He's gone. I mean, Mitch McConnell. He hasn't been looking too hot for a long time now. For like 5-6 years. I'm like, oh yeah, this guy doesn't look too good.
Yeah. Well, the rumor with Lindsey Graham, right?
No.
The rumor is that he might have gotten blown to bits by Putin. That he was in a drone factory in Ukraine. And he actually was in that weekend. He around that same time. He did a press conference outside of one of them, right? Yeah. So the rumor is that Putin and the Russians announced that he destroyed a drone factory. So the rumor is that Graham was actually in the factory and he got blown to bits, and they're just covering it up because it would be an international incident to outright say that, And also, there's a lot of ramifications about, us being involved in the drone factories itself. Yeah. So.
Oh wow! Almost like people are like doing some dirty like contracts and stuff like that, and funneling money through contracts to drones. Wow,
that would never happen. That would never happen in New York City.
No, never.
Not the NYPD. No,
never.
The NYPD is impervious from scandal. I didn't know if you know that.
Yeah. So look, obviously, all those rumors and conspiracy theories. But who knows? Behind every conspiracy theory, there's some questionable things that happened, right?
Hey, John, it's an hour and 30 in, so we might get shut down in 3 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So, speaking of other bullshit, this article came out right before we went live. Gothamist. Read this title. It is amazing. So you've been told that stabbings are mostly peaceful, shootings are mostly peaceful, people being pushed in the train is mostly peaceful, and riots are mostly peaceful. And now we're being told that crime is mostly down in New York City. But the NYPD audited stats often change the picture. That's the title. And so I put a little video out about this right before we went on. And I'm just like, I don't understand what people don't get, man. We've been talking about this for a while. I think we're the only people that talk about it. This was a major part of the article right here, a vital city analysis. And we covered this article a few months back. Analysis of 95 monthly major crime reports issued between 2018 and 2025 found every one was later revised upward on an average about 2.7%. So meaning that every time there's a press conference and the NYPD is telling you crime's at historic lows, we're at this is the crime. Those are all unedited numbers. And every month for 95 straight months, and I'm sure it's much longer than that. It's way before 2018 and it's occurring till today. If you look after those numbers were revised, and they were revised only because of small random audit samplings. There's not a true audit conducted of New York City crime stats, of NYPD crime stats. That is a deal that they made with the FBI when it came to reporting crime statistics. It's a heavy job. I guess the feds probably don't even have the manpower to be able to do it. But what happens is the NYPD audits itself. They send investigators out into take small random samplings of crime reports, and just based upon those small random samplings, every month for according to City and Now, a Vital City report, for 95 straight months, but it's much longer than that. So it's every month. Crime stats are consistently revised upward by an average of 2.7. Imagine if it wasn't a small random sampling. If it was a whole audit, it would be much larger than 2.7%. It'd probably be about 27%. The analysis was conducted by retired NYPD Inspector John Hall, who found the gap between the initial stats and the revision had widened in recent years, with transit crime proving especially volatile. Listen to this one. Between 2018 and 2022, subway crime totals were revised upward by an average of about 2.2% annually, according to the analysis. That average climbed. Now, remember what happens in 2022. Adam starts telling you, and the rest of the Democratic mayors and police commissioners across this country were telling you crime's actually down. It's just your perception versus reality. Reality's crime's down. We're at or near historic lows. That all starts. So that average climbs to 4.6 in 2023 and to 8.7% in 2024. By 2025, subway crime totals were revised by upward of 11.2%, meaning you're not at historic lows, meaning if you take the actual unaudited crime numbers and you compare them against 2019, what you'll see is that crime has consistently stayed on an upward trend. And everything that you're hearing by Eric Adams, by Zohran Mamdani, by their public safety team, by the NYPD is a fucking lie.
It's funny how that works, right? Because, in a lot of ways, it mirrors what's going on in the federal government too, because they've been revising the jobs numbers, every other month. So I think they're taking pages, from the larger national government, But yeah, I think that's also, if you look at we talk about the other incidents that happen and how the narrative that the Tish and the NYPD leadership tried to put into place, and how months later on or weeks later on, you find out the truth. But the problem is that the media only really ran with the initial narrative, and they don't bother to correct it later on. For instance, right? How much of the media has actually talked about the fact that has actually had follow-up about the detective shooting the other detective from last week? They really haven't, You would think this would be a question that should be asked every day at every press conference, but it's not. Has there actually been follow-up in regards to the Gracie Mansion incident and Chief Edwards and Sergeant Navarro's middle of valor? No. The initial narrative sticks in the media's head, and there's no follow-up. And this is the same thing that's happening here. The initial narrative about crime being down gets broadcasted to the media, and then months later, when they get revised, there's no follow-up from the media. And this is perception management 101, okay?
Well, here's the reality also, right? So real people, real New Yorkers, or anybody in this country, whatever city you're in, we're talking about New York City here, people don't judge crime by spreadsheets. They don't give a shit, honestly. They don't really care if you tell them crime is up or crime is down. They go by what they see. They don't care about these spreadsheets. So they can distort these numbers all they want. They can screw up with their CompStat math. It really doesn't matter. The reality is your eyes tell you the real story. And people see the streets of New York City. And the stories are told through people like us on this podcast and this network. John, you tell a story all the time. When you're in New York, you don't see the cadence that you used to see. You don't see the cops that are out there. You see a different vibe in New York City. I was there for a couple of days for an event held by the Gunfighters. Again, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it for supporting Derek in that. And I saw a different cadence also. I told John, I said, dude, I thought you were exaggerating, but you're right. I didn't see a single cop doing patrol. I saw one marked car in the 108 precinct parked off to the side. That was it. I was in almost every borough except for Staten Island in the Bronx, and I didn't see that cadence. I didn't see that flow of cars. It didn't look like the same city to me. And quality of life, it looked much different to me also. You could definitely see it tailed off. Now, so again, I say real New Yorkers don't go by spreadsheets. They don't care. You can tell these numbers all day. You can, and I think the reality is the media is playing this game, and New Yorkers know. They know. Real New Yorkers know that it's bullshit. They know they're being gaslit. The reality is those people just don't vote. We talk about voter apathy all the time. They don't vote for because they're busy working. But people know they go by what they see, so they could care less about these spreadsheets. Real New Yorkers go by what they see, and they see the quality of life. And it's interesting. You look at this article in the Gothamist, how it's crime is mostly low. That's amazing. Murders are down, rapes are down, robberies are down. All this stuff is down, but quality of life just stinks. Drug offenses are up. A lot of people are making complaints. So, yes, in life, things can be true. Two things can be true and different at the same time. But the reality is, don't tell me robberies are down, but the streets are terrible. There's so much drug activity because there's a correlation between both. Don't tell me that shoplifting's out of control, but murders are down. All these crimes have a correlation. All right. So this idea that we're going to compartmentalize and put crimes into different boxes. Oh, it's okay that there's so much drug activity. It's okay that you have illegal military age males on scooters carrying illegal firearms because we have less shootings out there. Because they're not documented. Again, people don't care about spreadsheets. They care about what they see.
Yeah, look at this. Crimes at historic lows, but number of New York City child gunslingers shoots up a disturbing 133%. How in a period of time when we're being told all crimes down and is at historic lows? How is that? How does that make sense? It doesn't make sense because it's right in your face. It's literally right in your face. And you know, someone said it here, like the news just throws headlines at you and that's it. There's no like intellectual conversation. There's no follow-up. The follow-up is clickbait. Then the next clickbait is going to be that crimes at historic lows. I mean, like, is the Post confused about what's happening in New York City? I don't think so. I think that they know exactly what's happening in New York City. But I think overall as a whole, when you look at legacy media, they push narratives for the government. They're no longer like a free, independent. They're not free and independent of any of these apparatuses. If the New York Post actually publicly reported what was happening, they would lose all contact with the NYPD. They would no longer be giving their information, their sources. They would, you know, I mean, you think that, you know, it's funny. The NYPD is consistently looking for leaks out of the department, and yet they leak everything that's in the media. I mean, and it's so obvious. It's blatantly obvious that their own press office is the major leak. Like they're the real leak. And so, you know, like how does that make sense? And then you look at, how about this one? This one, I was like, how don't people see this? Like, you know, we talk about it all the time that like it's just not the same, right? Ex-college hoop stars, European pro killed in targeted attack at New York City basketball tournament. Middle of the day, ton of people out there. What is the community saying? We need more police. Why is the community saying that if we're supposedly at the allotted head count and everything's fine and crime's down? How does this occur? How does this occur? And why is the community saying we need more police? Obviously, because they're saying they don't see the police. But don't worry, we're at the allotted head count. Everything's fine. Everything's good. Don't listen to those retired guys on the podcast. Don't listen to your husband, who's actually a cop. Don't listen to your girlfriend, who's a sergeant. Don't listen to your neighbor, who's a lieutenant. Don't listen to your uncle, who's a captain. Those people are lying. We're telling you the truth. That's just your perception. It's just social media. You just got robbed. It's not a big deal. Your friend just got robbed. It's not a big deal. You got stabbed. He got shot. Oh, so what? Our people get shot here and there. What are you going to do? You know, we're working wonders. I mean, and the lies like just smack you in the face every day. Every single day, it smacks you in the face like that. You're being lied to, and everyone, and the majority of people eat the slop. It's amazing.
It's true. It's true. They do, but it's because the majority of people are too busy with their lives. This is why they get away with a lot of the stuff. Majority of people are so busy running around with their lives that they have no time to dig into the issues, you know. And a lot of them are. I do admit a lot of them are tuned out and it's largely, I think, again, it goes back to they're so busy with their lives that, you know, they just don't have the time to spend hours looking at the issue or finding real sources of information, you know, not just the mainstream newspapers, you know. And I think it's how they get away with a lot of this stuff. Because I mean, you go back to the scamdemic, how many people actually, if most people who, you know, took the shot took time to look into it and look into the information, I can guarantee you they wouldn't have done it. But most people, again, don't have the time to, you know, dig into things. So unfortunately, they get away. You know, the media gets away with it, and these politicians get away with it because of that.
You know, here's the reality too, and I think this is, to me, I kind of laugh at this whole thing, right? The NYPD touts that murders are down, but we know the streets of New York City are just completely decimated compared to what they were before. So the reality is, if quality of life just stinks, the NYPD, what they're saying is, you know what, or the media, it's okay, at least you won't die. You know, it's just a sucky place to live, but at least you won't die. So what's really important here? Oh, it's a terrible place to live. It's horrible. It's uninhabitable. You got this mayor, Zohran Mamdani, was to hit your taxes if you have a little bit more money in your pocket. He wants to make sure your house is at 78 degrees. Shoplifting's out of control. People are doing drugs in the street. There's scooters all over the place. So illegal military age males. Not a great place to live, but at least you won't die. And that's what they're telling you. This is absolutely the most ridiculous thing. Welcome to New York City. Does that make sense? Do you want to live in a place? Well, at least I won't die, but it's just a horrible place to live. We're just barely surviving. This is absolutely ridiculous. Look, this is New York City. This is what's going on in the streets right now as we speak. So quality of life's out of control, but everything else is great. So it's mostly peaceful.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, the reality is crime's up, and the perception is crime is at historic lows, and that's what the NYPD has became. It's became a public relations agency. That's what it is. It's just all about spin. I mean, nothing could show that clearer than that police involved shooting. Right? They threw out facts to try to create create headlines that they wanted out there, even though they weren't accurate, because they didn't want to put the actual information out there. And then they distract you with the good things, like Marlon said. They give medals out, or they tell you the good stories. And look, there's still great work going on across the NYPD. But, you know, don't look at all the fraud that's occurring throughout New York State. Don't look at the billions of dollars that are being wasted. Don't look at all of the corruption that's coming out of it. Don't look at all of the people that have been arrested, all of the people that have government contracts to do absolutely nothing, that are getting paid by New York City taxpayers, that are systemically corrupt, that have been found to be corrupted. I mean, did you guys see that article that Sue Edelman dropped about the police guy in Jersey, the schools guy in Jersey? That thing was unbelievable. I was like, this guy's on New York City payroll. Hold on, I'll pull it up in a second. Guy's on New York City payroll, and he's making I forget what it is. He's making a former Brooklyn school superintendent who left his jobs in Connecticut and Jersey, still collected nearly $224,000 from New York City, as they suspended him for alleged fraud and mismanagement. And what happened was, hold on, I'm going to read it in a second. So Thomas McBride, who left New York City in 2021, faces a bombshell lawsuit by the Hackensack Board of Education. It accuses him of carrying out an organized plot to give, listen to this, you're going to be shocked that this is coming out of someone from New York City, accuses him of an organized plot to give no bid contractors to vendors and pay them for services they did not provide. So he was selling contracts, being accused of selling contracts and paying vendors for things that they did not provide. And New York City's still paying him even after that came out. Even after that came out and he was suspended 2 years ago, they're still paying him as a consultant nearly $224,000 a year. Taxpayers are still paying him. And what did we just learn about New York City public schools? They have $13 billion in contracts, 600 contracts, 60% of them are no bid. Literally 60% of them are no bid. And the school's chancellor won't even furnish the paperwork. He's like, oh, no, we can't do it. It'll take us months. It's not that they can't do it. It's that they won't do it. And city council, the state assembly, the Senate, the governor, the mayor, your attorney general have proven that they are in on this. They have to be in on this to allow this to continue to happen, because what's going to happen when you turn over that paperwork? The public's going to see that they paid potentially hundreds of millions of dollars for services that were never rendered or things that they never got. I hear consistently from school administrators, from teachers, from people across New York City that they're being told that work that was requested or things that were requested are closed out as far as the DOE is concerned. And meanwhile, the vendor's been paid and the school never has anything that they're supposed to have. So, I mean, when you look at that, what happened? Oh, it's called exactly what this guy was doing, selling contracts. And then not only was he selling the contracts, you weren't even getting the services. They were just getting paid. They were just billing you for nothing. No show contract. You know, the no show job like he had for being a contractor to the New York City schools. That's what you got now. No show contracts, and it's in the billions and billions of dollars, and nothing's being done about. Look at what Nick Shirley just put out about those elderly care centers in Queens. Billions of dollars in a little neighborhood. Everyone's going there. Where's the state controller? Where's the New York City controller? Where's the state AG? Where are they? Nobody's doing anything about any of this, you know? And it's like, and Shirley's like taking a victory lap. And I'm like, dude, you exposed it. Good job. You didn't stop it. The grift continues.
Yeah. Yeah. And eventually we're all gonna be paying for it. So if you're watching earlier, you notice I jumped out for like 2 minutes as we came on. The reason why I jumped out is because I got a ticket from the sanitation for not doing compost. Okay. And you should have heard me cursing, Now it's only $25.
Fucking kidding me? Another corruption scam. Remember Adams? Remember Adams? He revolutionized trash. You have to go buy this garbage can for $60 that everyone's stealing, by the way. I already had one of them stolen. And they don't even have them. And it's from one company, proprietary. And now what? Homeowner, you're an evil white supremacist, Marlon. You deserve that ticket.
Well, Marlon is white, so. How much is the ticket, Marlon?
Well, it says $25 here. Mailing penalty, $25. So it's only $25, but again, this is what's coming. Where they're gonna be nickel and diming us to pay for the budget while still giving out these wasteful contracts and these crumbs to all their cronies and associates. And you know, we've spoken about it before, and about how they're going to be targeting certain neighborhoods. If you live in a single family neighborhood with a house, they view you as an oppressor and white, and therefore you got a home. Oh, you're rich, so we're going to find ways to tax you and to have you pay for it. But we're still going to be giving out the waste to our cronies, and it's infuriating. And I just gotta wonder. I keep saying that at some point we're gonna have a come to Jesus moment, because I do think it will happen, because there's just so much waste going on, and then there's just such a shortage in the budget going forward that something is gonna have to give here.
You know, it's interesting, right? Who has a major grasp on the city? Who was in charge of Department of Sanitation before? I believe her name was Jessica Tisch, who's now in charge of the police department also. Very interesting. Very interesting. You think there's a coincidence there? Now, along with that, also, Marlon, just be careful. So I'd like to reach out publicly to Scott Monroe. Scott, if you could be prepared to represent Marlon when he gets blasted as a former cop who gets tickets for not composting, you know, just in case, you know, if you're anything like the cop that got blasted for getting tickets on his registered car, not the registered owner, but, you know, potentially Marlon could be in the same position. So, Marlon, be careful. You don't want to be the number one person on the list for getting the most composting tickets. So you're out there. They'll definitely change your agenda. Somehow you'll be an NYPD police officer again. Not unvaccinated, You'll be a former NYPD detective. He's not composting, not following the guidelines, and don't worry, the city, yes, well, thank you. When your whole block turns into apartment buildings, low income, So you're absolutely right. They definitely are targeting single families, because unless you're an elite like Zoran Mamdani that has a place in Uganda, then you have to lean on your place in New York City. So there's no doubt about it. So Marlon, I'm reaching out to Scott. Scott, be prepared, man. We might need representation here, just to let you know. So John, what thoughts on that, brother? Oh, here's your buddy.
We're gonna start modifying guys now if they get it. They get tickets.
There we go. City of Yes. Working out great, City of Yes. Really good, really nice.
It's a trash revolution. I gave out this weird ass contract and for a proprietary thing that only comes from one company, and they couldn't even make it enough. And then they stopped doing business after they got paid, and nobody could even get these. And now these stupid trash cans, these stupid compost trans can, which is not, I'm not showing here. The other one is the little brown one, the little brown composting trash can. And it's an absolute joke, dude. It's like they're getting stolen. I'm like, I already had to buy another one, and I'm like, it's annoying the shit out of me. Like, and honestly, where's that composting going? Is it going to go into a separate thing? Come on, it's going to go where your recycle goes, right into the same trash pile that they all go into. But just an excuse for grift, and to fine you. It's a twofer. It's not only corruption and bought out contracts, but it's also fines for you as well. And yeah, that's exactly what they'll do. They'll start. Yeah, we'll have Streets Blog do an article. They'll quote some fucking loser who's a lackey for an attorney. They'll quote him and have it, and it'll be like, oh yeah, we should modify this cop because we're gonna have IB investigate him because he got too many composting tickets.
That's right. It's a big deal. Hey, crime. Listen, crime is down in New York City. We need to go after the people that are not composting. That's a big, Hey, you know what's interesting about that? Most places where they supposedly recycle, it all goes to the same trash. It's the biggest bullshit. It's the biggest scam. So if anyone has time, just go to your local dump and see what's there. I guarantee it's all the same trash. I guarantee you all the trash is mixed together. Meanwhile, you have to make sure you're getting this composting trash from the same proprietary company. Why is there only one company? Why can't you just get it from different companies? Why does it have to be a specific bin? I'd like to know how much is in that contract. I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing. You think how many apartment buildings are actually getting tickets for this? Or what about the projects? Are people gonna get tickets for not composting? You think anybody's composting there? No. They're gonna come for, again, if you live in a single family area, they're gonna target you because the city loves low-hanging fruit enforcement, right?
Well, evil landlords too. Evil landlords. So
Yes,
you're gonna get evil landlords and evil homeowners. The projects, which is the city, is the biggest slumlord there is. I mean, they talk about slumlords. They're the biggest, every mayor of New York City, and throughout all of them, they've been the biggest slumlords ever since public housing started. And no, they're not going to get any tickets for this. And even if they do, what does it matter? Nobody's paying it anyway.
First of all, I worked in housing the majority of my career. And the big joke we say is, it's amazing how everybody keeps missing the garbage cans. So I don't know. I don't think they're worried about the composting. For instance, there's a building. If anybody's ever been there, 154 Broome Street in the Lower East Side. If you could walk to the front of the building without rats going between your legs, good luck. There is so much garbage in the summer there. It's flooded. I don't think anybody's going there to check the composting. So if anybody's ever been there, try it. We used to say, all right, let's see who can make it. So you have to walk through the pathway in the summertime. It's impossible to walk in the pathway without rats going between your legs, or as we used to call them, night squirrels. So, yeah, I don't think anybody's worried about composting there, Marlon. Do you think? I don't think so.
No. And I just saw a comment there from someone in our chat, Jose Carabello. He just said he just got one too. I would expect a lot of these tickets are going to be given out soon because they're going to find ways to nickel and dime us, guys. And keep in mind the deadline for that new trash can is September. So I would also expect as that deadline comes, you may have to chain up your garbage can because I expect a lot of theft going on, just as that deadline hits.
So.
They robbed my trash cans, dude. I had to buy all new ones. And they robbed my mother-in-law's too. They robbed my mother-in-law's too. That's why I asked the sort of shit I do want to move back for, because I just want to smack people in the face, but like it's unbelievable.
But you know what, Mom, I don't have that ticket in front of me, but I would assume that there's probably level of offenses there. So which means they keep record of who you are. I'm sure if the third offense is probably like a $200 fine. So they keep record of who you are. So Streets Blog, I'm sure you're going to start keeping record of who's getting these tickets. Make sure you find out who the cops are that are on cop posting. Really important. And what's the third offense? I'm sure.
I don't see it on here, but there's a lot of fines.
They probably take your house. They probably take your house.
Yeah, if you're in a single family home and you're not composting, make sure. First of all, that's bullshit, because real composting is you putting your garbage out and lighting on fire and burning it. That's real composting. So this is all full of shit.
Yeah.
Well, not true, because some compost you would use for gardening, right? Like you would use like your eggshells or coffee grinds. Like some of it you would use to actually compost, right? But like not, soon enough, the New York City is going to be like, yeah, don't shit in the toilet bowl. We're going to use it to like, put it in a bag. We'll pick it up and then we'll put it on. We'll use it for fertilizer.
That's right. Make sure you keep your house at 78 degrees and take a shit in this bag. This bag is sold by a particular company. Make sure you buy this bag. And if you don't shit in that bag, you get the summons.
And if you don't, we're going to give $100 million to this not-for-profit, give them your house, and your house is going to be in worse shape than it ever was when they own it. And we're going to keep paying them $100 million every year to do nothing. That's like, it's literal. It's madness, dude.
I'm sure pretty soon that it's going to be required that you have a bidet in your house. No longer could you wipe your ass with baby wipes. Yeah. You must have a bidet.
Well, you know what? After COVID and seeing people's obsession with toilet paper, I really looked at a lot of people really differently when they were stacking up toilet paper in the house. I'm like, I was ripping my neighbors. I was like, this is what you're worried about? You're not worried about food. You're not worried about water. You're worried about toilet paper. Yeah. You have a stack of toilet paper like a skell in your garage filled up. And that goes for any of you guys on here that did that too. That is the weirdest fucking thing I ever seen in my life. And I was like, I didn't understand it at all. First off, I'm not an animal. I use wet wipes. Secondly, if I ran out of toilet paper, I would just use water and a bidet. Who cares? Like, toilet paper is gross.
I agree with you. So I don't know who at this stage is wiping their ass with toilet paper and not popping their finger through. God bless you if you could do that. You should be using baby wipes or a bidet. I mean, you better wash your hands good. Listen, I need baby wipes. I'm not satisfied with tissue paper. Absolutely not.
We could just do what the deli guys and the street vendors do. They keep the cup of water, so they wipe their ass with their hand, and then they dip it in the water. In case you ever went into a deli bathroom and you saw a little cup of brown water, that's what it was. It was the hand cleaning. It was the hand cleaning station.
Any of my buddies here, if you served in Iraq, you know what I'm talking about. If you went to a Porta John in northern Kuwait or Iraq, and there was a water bottle in there, somebody came out, there was from Syria or Bangladesh. They were wiping their ass with their left hand with water. So, yeah. First of all,
and then making you a sandwich. And then make you a sandwich.
Hey, listen, what you don't know doesn't hurt you, right? But we're one of the few societies that actually uses toilet paper. I've actually read recently, not to be funny, but a lot of women, and women should be mindful of this. And I read this, that women are getting like cancer in their uterus and things like that from toilet papers. So you should be wiping with toilet paper anyway. All the dyes that are in there. Honestly, I read about it. It's not good. So you should be using a bidet or wet wipes. It's not too ridiculous. I don't know how we got on this subject, but oh well.
So you got an ass cleaning session here too. Yeah. So
I installed a couple of bidets.
Maybe those guys with the cup of water is maybe it's not as gross as I thought. I don't know.
Daniel Curzano said, "Is Eric mansplaining again, telling women what they should do?" Listen, I'm not telling them this. I read it, came up in some article. I got to find it, but they can do what they want.
Precinct bathrooms, though, are disgusting. And honestly, I'm ready to lock people. I was ready to lock people up and fight people over the way they left bathrooms. You always got in every command, you got the dude that like explodes. Like, I don't know how someone's ass, how it happens like that. We had a dude that would like literally, he would shit, he would go in the thing and he would blow shit all over the walls. Like, how does that humanly possible? Like, how are you alive? How are you not in an emergency room? I have to go
No,
to a
dude.
doctor. How does your ass explode like that? Like literally, like explode over the wall, and then wouldn't even fucking clean it. And I'm
That's
like,
disgusting.
I said, like, if I ever find out who you are, like, you're getting locked up. Like, I'm putting handcuffs on you. Like, I'm gonna fucking first I'm gonna get a Tyvek suit, and then we're locking you up because it's criminal mischief, dude. It's disgusting.
Honestly,
You know?
I think the cleaners and the precincts should get the Medal of Valor before Chief Edwards did. He jumped over
Yeah.
a barrier. Those cleaners have to go in some of the most disgusting bathrooms in New York City in the NYPD. Absolutely disgusting, vile. Some of those lockers, I mean, just vile, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but I heard the women's bathrooms are not much better. So, listen, but disgusting. Absolutely, you're a grown man, and if you can't aim your ass in the toilet bowl, I mean, you get a grip. What the fuck are you doing?
But bro, even if it was aimed, like it's exploding. Like, how are you alive? Like, what's happening there? Like, what is going on? Like, you
he
should
probably wasn't vaccinated. John.
Like, if that happened to me, dude. Like, if that happened to me, I'm calling 911.
Johnny probably wasn't
I'm not
vaccinated.
gonna just leave and go back on patrol. Like, I'm calling 911. I'm like, something's wrong. I need to get tested.
I think you should be vaccinated. That's the problem.
You know, it's sick, dude. Julio Tavares says it here. He says the priests and savages shit on top of shit. And it's true, dude. It's like, and the first time I experienced that was in the academy, and I remember it was Sergeant Anderson. I'll never forget it. He's like, there was shit on top of shit on top of shit. And then we all ran, like, I don't even know, for like the whole day because of it. And I was like, and all I kept thinking is like, yeah, no, this should be we should have a worse punishment than this. Like, this is not normal. Like, this is not normal. It's not. Animals. I don't know how we got in this conversation, but whatever.
But dude, that's really sad because when I was in Iraq, I mean, that's one thing I have to say. Like, you had to find some, find some interesting places, but some places we had porta johns shipped in, and the guys kept the porta johns immaculate. They kept it clean. Like, it's just, and these are guys, you're out in the desert, and you got all the stuff to worry about, getting your ass shot off, and meanwhile they kept the porta johns immaculate. Yeah, at NYPD precinct, it's disgusting. I mean, half the times, honestly, if you had to go to the bathroom, you'd rather drive out of command and go home. Risk getting in trouble just not to go to the bathroom there. Disgusting.
Yeah, and the precinct lounges too. I'd be like, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Sure.
Like, why are you leaving your food there? Pick it up, put it in a bag. Like, I don't, and like, I don't even know what they look like now, because I'm sure that people aren't policing each other today. I'm sure not as much as it used to be. Because even the cars were horrible back then too. The lounges, the cars, the gyms. I'm like, what are you like? You lifted weights, put the weight back where it was, put it in order. Like,
do you remember those couches in the 120 precinct? I'll never forget what we got there. We were brand new rookies, and I'll never forget. The first time I went to sit on one of those couches was terrible, but I like put my hands on it, and like just dust came out. It's disgusting.
Meanwhile, some dude was living on it because his wife threw him out. Because he was banging some rookie, and he was like living on it for fucking 2 years because he had no money.
There must be a lot of couches like that throughout the NYPD.
Oh my god!
Unless you're Madry, you get a nice couch.
Yeah,
dude. Remember, a lot of these precincts also had bed bugs in those couches. That's one of the reasons I stopped sleeping in the 7-7 lounge.
Me too.
Just went to my car. Yeah.
Midnights, I never slept, dude. I would volunteer to do anything else. I was like, I'm not doing it no more. Only unless I really, really had to, and like, it was because some days I was just stuck at work 3 days. It's like nothing you could do. Like, you can't physically stay up for 3 days. You get physically sick.
When I had my special ops offices, I always broke it down, cleaned it, scrubbed it, put new paint on, spent my own money to paint it and clean it. I'm not saying you have to, but you should have some pride in keeping your place clean. Some of these offices, disgusting.
Staten guy says he's got AIDS from the Brooklyn North
Disgusting.
Rusty says you could just get pregnant just sitting on Madry's couch.
And you know what's even worse? Like, that there was I forgot who told me it, but they told me that one time they flicked on the light in the lounge, and then like a rat like jumped off the couch. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I heard that like F that, but we threw out those couches after. But I think the bed bugs still remained after. You know, so
Every one of those precincts have mice. You showed me a precinct in New York City that doesn't have mouse traps. There's mouse traps in every corner. It's disgusting.
Yeah. It's filthy.
Did you guys ever hear Splat? Did you guys ever hear the myth of Splat? I'm not going to
you would build a name too. No, what happened?
So him and his partner were on a DV job. He has the shit, right? And so he's like, I can't hold it. So the partner's like, just go to the bathroom. I'll take care of it. Right? He comes out. The dude's sitting in the driver's seat, and he's shit in the driver's seat. So they had to take the seat out of the car and put a new seat in it. The car smelled like shit. Like the car never went out of service. Like the guys on patrol did it. They unscrewed the seat, went to the pound, got a different seat, threw the seat out, and he was forever splat after that. I worked with him in one of the command. It wasn't in the command that happened in, but we were told about it. I'm not gonna give his full name, but you know who you are.
Hey, listen. If you shit your pants, would you tell anybody, or just fucking make your way to the precinct?
I worked with a guy that shit himself and told us.
Hey, listen, honestly, it
We
happens.
ate White Castle, and he was sitting on his knees with his ass facing us in the back of the unmarked. We're like, "What's going on?" He's like, "I just shit." We're like, "Get the fuck out of the car." I work with a guy that shit himself.
Wow.
Hey, listen, dude. I'm not gonna knock him, man.
On duty. Huh?
You having a bad stomach day, man? That can happen to anybody. You know?
Yeah. Gross. All right. Last one for today before we start to wrap up. So this NYPD's ex-top shrinks forced to quit in retaliation or after reporting unethical practices lawsuit comes out. So there was a certain clout chasing clown that was all over this dude. He should be fired. He's stealing time. Shocker, shocker, shocker. We have a high-ranking civilian in the NYPD stealing time, not doing their duty, supposedly doing all this other stuff, like using their position to get personal clients, all this stuff for his practice in New Jersey. And he was at the top of the health and wellness food chain. So we had this one clown, and he was like talking about this forever. And I don't think he was wrong about it, because I mean, there is a problem with people feeling like these are no-show jobs. And I personally think they're told that they're no-show jobs. And these are political patronage jobs that are given out. And so this individual is being accused of stealing time and doing a lot of other stuff that they shouldn't be doing. And now he's suing as a result of that. And what he's saying is that the NYPD wanted to use people's private psychological evaluations to use in their disciplinary file and use towards discipline. And it's an unethical practice if you're a doctor. It's client attorney, not client attorney, client doctor privilege, right? It violates HIPAA to do that. So he's saying that. So personally, I believe it all. I believe what the NYPD accused him of. And I believe him, what he's accusing the NYPD of. And it just shows the NYPD how mismanaged it is at the top. How did this person get this job? Why does he get this job? And then, he was going to be ultimately demoted to like a lower ranking position because of all the stuff. And he said no, and he left, and now he's suing. And yeah, I'm curious to see what comes of it. And like I said, that grifting clout chaser is now going to paint this individual as a victim to you. And you should watch, because the message is never consistent. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable watching just people he's a criminal, he should be in jail, to he's a victim. Literally one day later. It's like, what? What did I hear? Am I listening to the same thing? Did I hear the same thing? So yeah, I personally, yeah. I don't know, man. I personally believe all of it. Like, the NYPD is filled with political patronage, grift, nepotism, cronyism, and this is what happens. Basically the whole system gets exposed. NYPD looks like assholes, and the taxpayers ultimately pay out for all of it.
Yeah, I agree, John. I believe both of it too. Yeah. And do you actually have any sort of patient-doctor confidentiality anymore? Or I don't think you do in the NYPD. I mean, you just saw it a couple of years ago. I mean, do they care about any of that now? HIPAA? What's that? That doesn't apply in the NYPD Modern Samurai. Yeah. it's I don't think it applies anymore. And by the way, we haven't talked about this in a while, but keep in mind the unions. There's some I believe Mariana Pizzatola spoke about this before, about the unions selling your private health information, to the I think was it the insurance companies? I have to look it up again, but they already sold some of your health information. So, does HIPAA actually exist in the NYPD anymore?
No, it was done in 2020. That was my other complaint. I said, how does everyone know my private medical status? And they're like, well, you're a lieutenant. You could see it. I was like, who the hell authorized me to see anything? What does being a lieutenant have to do with me being? I'm not a doctor. I was like, and by the way, everyone in the department can see it. So I don't know what it's not even just privy to supervisors. But even if it's just privy to the people you designated the COVID coordinator or whatever it is, I don't know who the hell designated me, but they designated me at that. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing any of this stuff. Like, I don't know what the hell you think I'm doing. Like, I'm not going along with this. And I was who privies me to see anybody else's private medical information? Like, who the hell is that if not for HIPAA? And the union had zero issue with it. Zero. And that goes for all of them. I could speak solely for the Lieutenants Benevolent Association, who said that their lawyer said it wasn't a HIPAA violation and none of it was a HIPAA violation. But it obviously applies to all of them because none of them said a damn word about any of it.
Yeah, you're spot on, brother. You know what's interesting? It's not just doctors, right? Even doctors, when it comes to HIPAA, they have limited access to medical records, right? They need, without your permission, they can't have full access to your records anyway. But yet in the NYPD, they had full access. So I think this is a complete violation. They shouldn't know anything about your records. First of all, I think it's a violation of HIPAA, and also for you having to express what your religious accommodations are and why you're religious and why. I mean, that's another violation on top of it. I think it's just people, we talk about double whammies during COVID. If you didn't take the vaccine, I think you're getting violated on all ends. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so, Marlon, I stand with you, brother. Spot on, brother. I don't think there's any HIPAA when it comes to the NYPD. I think they access way too much information. And as John Scola said it best, I have to say, when he was on Sal's show a long time ago, he said it well. He was right. The NYPD doesn't look to fix the issues that they have. They just keep paying lawsuits. They just keep paying so that they just keep playing. Pay, play, pay, play. He said it best, brother. I have to say.
Yeah. And what was I going to say? Come back to me, John. I forgot my train of thought.
Yeah. And so just so we were talking about with this psych, is that photo up? No, it's not.
No.
With the psychologist. So I'll just read you a little bit of the article from the New York Post. The former head of the psychologist of the NYPD claims he was forced out of his job in retaliation for blowing the whistle on the department's mental health practices, including allegedly being ordered to turn confidential therapy records of police officers into disciplinary files. Dr. Matthew James Graziano resigned as the director of the Department of Health and Wellness section in April, after he was accused of collecting tens of thousands of dollars in overtime. Oh, it wasn't even just regular pay. It was overtime. How are you a director and getting overtime? Whatever. That's another thing. Whatever. While moonlighting as a psychotherapist, and the city is now seeking reimbursement. A police source familiar with the situation said the department believes Graziano stole hundreds of hours of overtime and was seeing private clients on city time. Wow. Wonder where he got that idea. They also said Graziano sometimes claimed to be working in the city, but he was actually out of the state. But the certified psychologist said the NYPD made up these accusations and lost numerous baseless complaints against him as revenge for advocating for quality mentally health care for police officers, according to a lawsuit filed in June 30 to 23rd in Manhattan Supreme Court. He is seeking unspecified amount of damages. Once he started doing that, he then started retaliating against him because suddenly complaints started appearing against him. His lawyer, Nicole Bernanke, told the Post. Graziano, 45, who sees clients privately in New Jersey, joined the NYPD in 2022. Whoa. Where were you, man? You didn't speak to me and Marlon. My mental health wasn't so good in 2022. And I'm sure Mullins wasn't either. And there was probably 16,000 at least NYPD officers who were experiencing real mental trauma during that time in 2022. Where were you, Maddie? So he was promoted to executive role in 2024, a position with a cushy starting salary of $180,000. So he's making $180,000. He's making $180,000 and he's still getting overtime. In his leadership position, he started sounding the alarm about ethical concerns, including allegedly being forced to breach confidentiality with police officers seeking help from health and wellness. There are some things that you would confine in a psychologist that would normally be held confidential, but the NYPD was trying to turn it from confidential to disciplinary, Bernanke said. So the files that were confidential would become part of the disciplinary file. Graziano said he also called out gender discrimination within the department. Oh, so he was talking about all of the discrimination against males, which only resulted in him allegedly being targeted because he is a gay man. Which was the gender discrimination, Matt? Like when you guys were going after men? What are you talking about? Like, I'd love to know what he does. Once he started actually complaining about the practices, that's when they started making little comments here and there and being a little nasty to him on that basis, his lawyer said. Graziano, 45, sees clients privately in New Jersey, joined the NYPD in 2022 as a psychologist, was promoted to executive role in 24, a position with a cushy starting salary. And I would assume he lives in Jersey. I mean, this is insane, dude. It's insane.
See, but John, there's this guy on social media, and I know who you know. His name is Huge Fat Loser, and according to him, you can have mental health issues, but as long as if they're related to the job, it's you. Can't have any issues with the job.
By the way, is that not a perfect name though?
It really is,
because he is a huge fat loser, right?
He is. But it's according to him. I love it when videos come up. You can have all these issues, but if you have issues with the job, it's really your fault. You're supposed to just take it. What are you going to do about it? I love it. I love it. He is a fat loser. That's what he is. I'm calling you out, fat loser.
Yeah.
No, I mean, where was everyone? No one knows any of this shit was happening. Like, that's the thing. It's like you care about officer mental health and wellness only when it could benefit you financially. Exactly. You weren't ringing from the hill prior to that, and I only get it when I get accused of stealing overtime and time and not doing my job properly. That's only when I really become a whistleblower. Pat Donahue said it here. Anyone else noticed the trend that after someone gets accused of doing something, now all of a sudden they're a protected whistleblower? Yeah, I mean, it's a trend that literally everybody's been using. And, and it's all being advertised on a certain podcast by a certain individual that was at one time calling for them to the gas chamber and now is calling them victims. It's like, it's the weird, like, it's unbelievable to watch all this stuff, Yeah,
it's absolutely disgusting. And that's the whole key to this. So throughout your entire time while you were making this overtime as a director, you saw all these failing issues and how the department was just completely flawed. You had nothing to say until you were personally affected. So how's that for mental health? If you really care about mental health, what about the other people that are affected by it, that you stood by and said nothing until it affected you? Just like when we said about the video, must have been about 2 years ago, right, John? We spoke about Wachter about him working in mental health and his arrest situation. We spoke about him. We heard, what about his mental health? Yeah, what about the mental health of the people that are there? And people only apparently care when they're personally affected.
So Ron says here, he says, there used to be no confidentiality on what you said to department psychologists in health and wellness. What was changed to give credibility and encourage MOS is to help. That was changed to help MOS within the department. Yeah, but it really wasn't. And it obviously wasn't. And again, if you talk to anybody inside of health and wellness, anyone that knows anything about health and wellness, it's a bunch of bullshit. It's literally a bunch of bullshit and it can't be trusted. Again, the majority of cops with over 10 years on now already have post-traumatic stress syndrome. They're experiencing some form of anxiety, suicidal tendencies, real poor mental health. And that only exasperates as they work harder and they're being pushed to work these strenuous hours and not have days off and consistently changing assignments. And health and wellness has been nowhere on that for the last 6 years, ever since this happened. Again, NYPD is in a death spiral, and the mental health of these cops is going to be much worse. In the NYPD specifically, is going to be a much worse state than any other point in history and any other law enforcement agency ever. Like, these cops now, today, what they're experiencing today, no other profession has ever experienced so prolonged the types of toxicity and like, they just haven't experienced it. No one's ever, we don't know what's going to happen to these individuals as they get older, or how suicides are going to increase as a result of all of the demands and all of the criticism that's placed upon these cops. They're literally doing an impossible job now. I personally think health and wellness, everyone there should be fired, and it should be start over. And anyone that is now in retirement or starting some type of consulting business should all go fuck themselves, honestly, because it's a complete failed thing. It should be pulled down and start over from the beginning.
Spot on. I agree. And excuse me. There's one more thing also, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole completely, but John, a while back, we did a podcast. I think it must have been about 3 years ago, where we spoke about body cams. And I think that we talk about this profession. I think that this entire profession is mentally affected, and they don't even realize it. And we're all going to feel the effects of it. And that's the body camera. I think the body camera, there's no doubt in my mind. I'm not a psychologist, and I don't have any scientific proof or data, but based on my own perspective and opinion, I think everyone is mentally affected by wearing a body camera. I just don't think it's natural. I think that maybe in 10, 20 years, we'll find out some studies that show that everyone suffers some type of mental defects from wearing that body camera. I just think it's unnatural. I think everyone's going to be affected by it. Obviously, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but we talk about mental health and wellness. I think that's going to be a major issue in years to come.
Well, they'll be suffering anxiety, and even when you look at society as a whole, you look at the rise of social media. There also has been a rise of mental anxiety from the population too. So, but I also think, by the way, that the body camera is also tied into that entire issue of social media, cameras everywhere. I think they all go hand in hand, because I think we've stepped down the road to that society where there's cameras everywhere, and it's only now there. By the way, now there's a massive pushback against all of these cameras, and as you can see around the country, they're busy cutting down all those flock cameras. So there is a pushback coming towards all of this. And I believe the body camera was all part of this overall push for a society where you no longer have any sort of privacy. But that's a different discussion anyway. I was going to say one thing. I've spoken about the health and wellness, and I've recommended it to guys on here. And I just don't think we should throw out the baby with the bathwater right now. I know there are massive problems with it, and I think it's incumbent on you guys who are still on their job to also, call out the nonsense within that unit too, so that we can throw out the garbage and keep what's good about that, having health and wellness there. But the problem is that you guys who are still on the job, you see the problems, but you don't say anything, because you don't have, I don't know what happened to your courage, certainly after COVID, right? So there won't be any change, and things will only get worse for you, as things go on, and as you remain silent. So
But Marlon, what's good about it? Seriously, what's good about it? Who's done any good that's in there? Like, honestly,
no,
I talk to countless individuals that have went through the system, and it's horrendous what they do. And I'm not going to bring out people's personal things here, but it's absolutely horrendous. They don't give a fuck. Like, literally don't give a fuck. Yeah, the idea of it's good. The process of it isn't. Like, we had the same thing about, we had the same discussion about, we were talking about checkpoints, right? And I was saying that it could be done properly, and you're like, well, we shouldn't do it because it never is done properly. And I'm saying, no, we should do it. We should just do it properly. And that's what I'm saying here. Like, I'm not saying get rid of health and wellness or that type of thing. I'm saying make something that actually works, that could actually help people instead of this bullshit fucking social media thing where you get a guy who just goes on and he's an SDS because he tells you, yeah, don't blame the job because you got into a shooting and now they're trying to fuck you and psych you off the job, or because you got anxiety because all the shit they did. Don't blame them. It's your fault. It's your fault. You know, this job's the best. It probably is the best when you walk around Manhattan every day and you fucking film content and you go to all these different gyms and you do the same fucking workout every single day and you get paid a lot of fucking money to do it, including overtime. Probably is a good job for you, but for the rest of everybody else, it's not. For the 99.9%, it's not. You know, and so that's my point. I'm not saying get rid of it totally. I'm saying in its current state, in the way that it is, who was there for you in 2022? In 2022, that was the biggest mental health crisis I've ever experienced in my entire life. That was the most amount of pressure I ever experienced in my entire life. And I've been in some pretty fucking high pressure situations. And that was the most pressure I've ever been under in my life. And there was literally no place I could go, including health and wellness, including employee relations. They basically all told me to go fuck myself. And they did it to 18,000 other people. Until today, I still suffer the effects of that time. What the fuck did what did health and wellness do for you, Marlon? You were terminated without due process, without cause. Did they give a fuck? No. You know what they would rather? They would rather you fucking kill yourself so they don't have to look at their own failures and anybody know anything about anything that they're doing or question them. And they could just post nice little friendly social media or have a fucking dog that you could pet while you're in there and you're about to get really fucking annoyed because they're going to do more harm to your career than they're ever going to fucking help you.
John, you know how many, when I had 8 sets of charges in 6 weeks, you know how many people contacted me from health and wellness?
Yeah.
Zero. It's unheard of. It's unheard of. I had 8. Yeah. Aaron Lohman. Yeah, exactly. Aaron Lohman could care less about mental health because if you say anything about the job, the problem is you, right? Because he wants to protect his position, right? He's a sergeant in mental health and wellness with 20 years on the job. Everything with the job is hunky-dory according to this guy, right? Just keep lifting, just keep doing your squats or your one-time bench in every gym. It's absolutely ridiculous. Because Aaron Lohman, I don't know if you know this, brother, but I had 8 sets of charges in 6 weeks. That is unheard of. You know how many people contacted me for mental health and wellness? Zero, not one. In my firm belief, in my opinion, every time someone gets a set of charges, you should be contacted by mental health and wellness because everyone has a different perspective and a different tolerance for that type of stress. When people get charges, for some people, it's a terrifying moment. Me, unfortunately, I got desensitized to it. But for some people, it's a terrifying moment, right? What's going to happen to my job? What situation am I being transferred? And there's no correlation. There's no content. Say, hey, what's going on? And if you do come forward about your mental health, you're now a liability to the job, and you put yourself at risk of potentially losing your job.
They're going to fucking psych you. They're going to take your gun. They're going to psych you.
It's a lose-lose situation. So I'm sorry, Aaron Lohman. So tell me tell me why it's so great with the department. Oh, it must be me, right? I must be, you know what? I had 8 sets of charges in 6 weeks. It's my fault, right? So I deserve to have bad mental health. Every one of us was affected differently. I'll admit it. 100% I was affected. I got myself over it. I said, you know what? I picked my pants up. I put my face on and said, fuck this. If I get terminated from this job or whatever happens, I'll be fine. But for a brief moment, man, I was hurting. And we all were. And nobody came forward. And in fact, there's no mental health on all ends because the entire job, especially I was working at PSA 7, there was a couple of people that stood in my corner, but a lot of people, they turned their back on me. It was like I had leprosy. Oh, you got 8 sets of charges, 6 weeks? A lot of this. Don't talk to that guy. Yeah. How does that help your mental health?
Yeah. How about all the cops that have disabled kids or sick kids and can't care for them properly because of the demands on the job? What the fuck is health and wellness or employee relations or anybody doing for those kids? Nothing. What are they doing for the single mother who's going through a divorce or the single father who's going through a divorce? Nothing. Job doesn't give a fuck about you. It's a joke. If you're next to the king, none of these things matter to you because you're never going to have to do any of it. You're going to get all the overtime sleeping on the couch. And if you're not, you're going to actually be doing the job, and the job is going to take a toll on you mentally, and only the really strong are going to survive it. The rest of them, they're going to be altered for the rest of their lives. I mean, and you could see it in retirement. How many guys kill themselves in retirement? A lot. a lot, and they don't talk about it. And I guarantee you, this crop of kids that are coming out, a lot more of them are going to commit suicide in retirement because they're going to have severe mental illness in retirement based upon what they're being subjected to now. And you know what health and wellness is doing? This. No, it's a great job. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. Yeah, no, it's good. Everything's good. Everything's good. Forget all the corruption. I like those guys. Those guys were nice to me. I took a picture with them. I went to all these fucking events. I shook all these mayors' hands. I hung out with the chief of department. I don't care if there's a captain couch. I don't care about all the corruption. I don't care that my director was fucking getting overtime while he was in Jersey, and now all of a sudden he's a fucking whistleblower. Get the fuck out of here with all this bullshit. Honestly,
Exactly.
All these people should be in fucking jail for stealing money from the taxpayer. And most of them don't even fucking live in New York City. Shouldn't even have been cops in the fucking first place, in my opinion.
Yeah, what exactly? I would like to know what exactly is the mission of mental health and wellness. Ultimately, what is their mission? To try to push out the people that say they have issues from the internal pressures of the NYPD. If you say you have external pressures, it's okay. We can have that conversation. But if you say you have issues from the internal pressures of the NYPD, oh no, there's something wrong with you. Maybe you shouldn't be on this job because everyone else wants to conform. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's a joke. Well, I don't know how we got on this tear, but it's infuriating, dude. Honestly, when I start to think about mental health, it's infuriating to me. Like, it's infuriating to me, like, thinking that, I don't know that if you have mental issues, and if you don't, Marlon, like, you're a strong bastard. Because I'll tell you, me, like, I never even thought anxiety was real until 2022. Mm-hmm. Now I'm like, oh yeah, this is what that is. You know what I mean? And I struggle with that from time to time, periodically, especially when I travel and I get out of my routines. I'm like half the person I was in 2022. I can't stay up late anymore. I can't drink alcohol anymore. I can't do any of it anymore. If I do, I'm literally completely like disabled, like a shell of myself, because of all of the shit, all of the stuff weighing down. And now think about these new guys and the pressures that they're under. We weren't under those. We were under pressure at work, but I mean, they're basically going to all experience like Eric style pressure every single day for 20 years. When we talk about the 8 set of charges, when we talk about the constantly going to CCRB, the constant criticism, the constant bullshit coming out of the supervision of this department, you know, it's fucking ridiculous. And then when you talk about these young kids becoming supervisors, forget about it. You can't properly supervise this police department. How could you actually be an effective sergeant, lieutenant, or a captain? How could you actually do it? You can't do it. You have nobody. You're basically just throwing yourself on the sword. You're like, yeah, I'm going to be a fucking supervisor, and they're going to give me 2 fucking cars a day. And if I say anything, they're going to cut my fucking head off. But you know, the thing is, Eric, that you don't know. You didn't know how to play the game, Eric.
Exactly. Exactly. I was told that. Exactly.
No, you didn't know how to play the game, Eric. You know, and like the CO that just got transferred, right? He was playing the game, right? He had the people doing the fucking whatever. They were playing dominoes in the street. Like, what is this bullshit? He's playing dominoes in the street. Where is he? Auto pound, right? Why is he in the auto pound? We don't know. But
no, I don't know. No,
apparently he doesn't know how to play the fucking game either.
Yeah, apparently nobody knows how to play the game. You know what's interesting also? I think that anxiety is a real thing. And I think that's why I go back to the body cameras. I think that the body camera is so unnatural and people don't even realize it. I think they're suffering from anxiety every day. Cops are going out, and I'll prove it to you right now. Anyone here? Cops are going out right now because I talked to the cops that immediately after they have an interaction or a job, they're going back to their phones to watch the body camera to see what happened. Talk about anxiety. You just lived it in real life, and 2 seconds later, you have to go back to the video to go over what you did, what your partner did, what everyone else did. What do we do? What did it look like? That's anxiety. I'm telling you, those body cameras are going to lead to some real mental health issues. Not just New York City, the entire profession, the entire law enforcement profession is just unnatural. Unnatural right now. There's no job out there. There's no profession that wants to have a mic on them all day or a camera.
But here's the real issue. Is it really the body camera? I don't think it's really the body camera. I think it's the fact that they have 16 different fucking units reviewing your body camera. There's more people watching that body camera than are wearing that body camera. And every one of them, none of them have fucking police experience. None of them ever did the fucking job. They're all either fucking former traffic agents or fucking cowards that decided, I'm going to investigate cops instead of investigating criminals. And I'm going to spend my entire fucking career doing it. And then what they're going to do is, and you're going to have civilians that never did the fucking job at all. And they're going to review your body camera. and they're going to hold you to the letter of the law, even though they're not really holding you to the letter of the law because they don't even understand it what you're supposed to do. And they're going to find you guilty of things that you didn't even do, you know? And it's like, that's the problem here. Like, the problem is the level of scrutiny. And I'm getting anxiety just fucking talking about this. So let's wrap up and start going.
No, you're right. I think it's the entire profession is affected by it. Obviously, the NYPD, I think it's much more higher threshold because you're exactly right. There's so many units, right? Yourself, your supervisor, and all the units that are actually scrutinizing, including outside sources, CCRB, the DA's office, every entity is scrutinizing that body camera. And then you have to scrutinize yourself, and you have to ask yourself, what do you actually remember? Is your memory of what you saw, of what happened before you saw the camera, or after you watched the camera? What's your memory? And I do believe that once you watch the camera, it distorts your memory. Your memory of what happened is far different than when you watch that body camera. So,
you watched yourself from a third person point of view. That isn't what you perceived in the first person.
Exactly.
Now you're like, oh shit, that's not what happened. This is what happened. How many times have you been on an incident and you and your partner perceive the incident totally differently?
All the time.
And I guarantee if there was video of it, you both perceive it differently from what actually happened on the camera.
All the time. 100%. Spot on. And anyone here that's ever done real police work knows exactly what we're talking about. They've all felt that. And if you've never won the body camera, it's pretty interesting, right? Maybe you saw something on cell phone camera of yourself, and that feels kind of odd. But when you watch a body camera, and it's happened to me numerous times, you're in situations, man, I was in an incident. I thought it was a half hour long. You watch the body camera, it's 2 minutes. Or I thought it was much more volatile than it was. I watched the body camera, it doesn't look that bad. But when you're going through it, it was far worse.
You know, Donahue says here, and I'm going to disagree with you, Pat, because this is what Donahue says. He says body worn camera review in the NYPD is like a guy cut from Pop Warner football critiquing an NFL quarterback for throwing an interception in the face of a massive pass rush. I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say that that's true some of the times when you talk about the uniform members that are reviewing the body camera, then we could be true. But you got to remember there's tons of civilians doing that. And what it actually is, it's a guy that can't even throw a fucking football critiquing what you're doing in the NFL under a massive pass rush. That's the reality of it. They can't even throw the football. They can't even go like this. If you see them throw it, they'd be like, eh. And it would just flop in the ground in front of them. And then they're going to tell you how to fucking throw a touchdown on game day. You know, that's what it's really like.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with anything you guys said about the health and wellness. Yeah, I'm not, because I saw it, and I saw it from the entire job. You know, I explained how I was trying to get my overage and I couldn't even get that. You fired me, but you didn't even want to do that until and I was getting so angry. I was literally gonna go and fucking smash things up at 1 pp, and the job would have to fucking arrest me. But they finally relented and gave it to me. So I see it. I see it. And the minute you leave the job, it's like you're fucking nobody. None of that, your time mattered. And that you know, that still gets me angry. So I agree with everything you say about it. But one of the reasons why I'm not like a psycho, but because of all they've done to me, is that I see the end game is coming. Everything is all these problems are coming together at the same time, and there will have to be a solution to it because it cannot be kicked down the road any further. And just before we go to super chats, Modern Samurai asked this question in the chat. He asked me about the buildings, and so you know, we made a couple calls when this incident happened last week. And the reason why I'm going to bring this up now and relate it to what's going on in the NYPD is because everything we said that was going to happen is slowly happening, right? This article from the AM New York, I shared with you guys in the chat so you could read it yourself. But in the article talks about what's coming, which is multiple lawsuits and infighting between developers, engineers, contractors, the banks, the insurance companies, the community, right? Who's going to be shut down, you know, and their property values are going to go down. Businesses are going to go down. They're going to lose money. The city's going to lose money. it's all coming to a head, and you can only kick you can only kick these problems down the road to a certain point where you're going to have to deal with it. And we've come to a point in history where all these problems, the problems of the NYPD, on a large part, the problems of society, and the problems of big blue progressive cities all coming to a head at once. So the reason why I'm not a psycho, because of what all that's happened, is because I know the end game is coming, and there will be consequences for everything the job did to us, for everything they continue to do to you guys that are still working now, all the bullshit that happens with your useless union members like you, Scott Monroe. And I'm not gonna drop more F-bombs, but you're useless. But your times are all coming.
It's coffee and donut time, but I just want to say comment today, Marlon, Staten guy. He says Marlon's that guy in training. When the people want to wrap it up to leave early, he raises his hand and asks a question. Just some housekeeping.
Get some housekeeping. Let's
I
go on.
promise Modern Samurai I'd comment on it. So
We love you, brother. Come on.
yeah, keep paying attention to that Modern Samurai. I'm telling you, a lot of things are coming out of that. And when that building goes down, watch. Here's my prediction. The building goes down, the stock market's going to crash too. You could quote me on that. Right?
Yeah.
It sounds crazy, but you could quote me on it.
Donahue says that I'm trying to get on Scott Moreau's good side because I want the 2027. That's coming. That's coming, Pat. Mark my words. That's coming. Maybe even in 2027. That's coming. Will we accept is the better question. That's the better question. Yeah. All right, let's get to the coffee and donuts. We had about 800 people with us live this morning. We appreciate all you guys. Anybody watching, listening, please do us a favor, like, share, subscribe. If you're on audio, if you could do us a favor, leave a 5-star review and, give us 5 stars and leave a review. We'd appreciate it. For those of you that listen to this later, if you could do us a favor, like and share out. If you're on YouTube, if you could hit that, what's the button again? The
Hype button. Boost.
What is it?
The hype button.
The hype button. Yeah, if you could hype
baby.
it for us, it moves us up in the algorithm. We appreciate
The
it.
hype button.
Audios have been absolutely flying lately. Appreciate all the love from everybody on Apple, Spotify, and all the other major platforms. We've been literally starting across the globe, and it's honestly, it's unbelievable to watch. Hit 300,000K. That's because of all you guys. So if you could do us that favor, we appreciate it. For those of you that don't know, we're an interactive chat. We speak with our chat. For those of you that want to ask us a question, speak with us, or us to even just read out a comment to make sure that we get to it. We try to do a lot, but there's so many that we can't get to all of them. Put a super chat in. We always read them out at the end. That's the segment we're at now. Anybody got anything else before we hit these super chats except for more?
Coffee does still a baby. Marlon.
All right, let's do it. Staten guy. Some levity. Happy Eric is okay. You guys are the only ones speaking the truth. Keep it up. Don't
Thanks,
stop.
bro.
More people turn to you than you know. Look, we're aware. We're a lot more aware than people think we're aware of it. I mean, obviously, we get the calls. We get the messages. We see what's there. We're not worried about what anybody's got to say or thinks about us. That's fine. We know the truth. And so we appreciate you guys always weighing in. Stephen S. I missed you this trip, bro. I'll be back soon. I'll probably be back in the fall. Probably we'll meet up. Welcome back, Eric. The spot-ons are back on target with real talk, information, and courage. God bless yous. And by yous, he means yous guys. All right?
Yous guys. Yo, Steven, good man. That's a good man right there.
Staten guy, 321. He said the job weaponized mental health for manpower. Think of how really evil that is.
That's deep. He's right. Coffee donuts. Yup.
And grift and political patronage jobs awards. And now they're getting sued. Everyone, it's funny to me, everyone that's like benefited from the grift now has multi-million-dollar lawsuits towards the same people that helped them benefit from the grift.
You just gotta know how to play the game, John. You gotta know how to play.
Just didn't know how to play the game. Not a game I want to play. You know,
I didn't play too well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm really offended.
Mon Samurai says, great show today. Welcome back, Eric. So many problems with the department in the city these days. Tough issues require tough conversations. Like, subscribe, and join the chat. 300K strong. God bless everyone. Absolutely.
Yeah, let's
And
hit
like
that
I
million,
said,
baby.
yeah, let's get to that million, but hit the hype button too, because I think we're averaging right now on YouTube about 2.3 million views a month. That should be a lot higher. We got to get those numbers up. We got to get that into the 20 million range. So we appreciate that. Yeah, that's the hype button. Hype 840 points. That'll move us up, get us YouTube to promote the show. So we'd appreciate that. Cobb says, John, third violation, take your house, the best. I mean, is that not where we're going? Is that not where we're going? It's absolutely ridiculous. Mullen says it's idiocracy, right?
Yep. Kakistocracy.
Yep.
Same thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just say it's pure bullshit.
Yeah.
It is.
It is. That's exactly what it is. Staten guy. Migrants and people from the projects don't go to jail for murder. Mullen gets slammed for the wrong garbage pail. City is safe. We caught the son of Sam.
Yeah. That's right. And who do you make that check out to, Molly? The Tisch Foundation?
Eric Adams Consulting Company.
Yeah.
Crumbs LLC. Crumbs Consulting.
Crumbs
Staten
Consulting.
guy. He says, when you blindly trust the right doctors, blindly in 2020, you can't trust the patrolman who sees the degeneracy firsthand daily. Rich boy never took a walk outside without a buffer is saying you are paranoid.
Yeah. I just want to say before we finish these coffee and donuts, because we spoke on it, we should. Detective Islam, may he rest in peace, honestly. And it really is a tragedy. And I wish the best for his family. I just wanted to say that since we did speak on it today, I really wish the best for his family. Nobody ever says that. We talk about mental health, but I wish his wife and kids, it's losing a loved one is no joke.
Oh yeah, he was literally murdered. He was literally murdered, and the same public safety failure that this guy's suing over is, the Detective Islam his family should sue as well. Because they
Exactly.
him, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I agree.
Pat Donahue, he says the dramatic reappearance of Eric today gave me flashbacks to when Bo, Luke, and Duke settled their contract dispute and came back to Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah, you were missing the blonde hair, brother. One of us has hair. We need a guy with hair.
Yeah.
I want to be the fat sheriff.
Oh,
I always liked that car that he had.
I like Daisy Dukes.
Yeah.
What was her real
Yeah,
name?
Charger.
I hope you
That
do.
69 Charger.
I hope you do, Eric. Yeah. Staten guy. Good rule of thumb. Read the paper. Think of the complete opposite, and that's the reality. Everyone knows it's all bad. We are being fed shit and told it's ice cream.
Yeah. That's spot on, brother. I'm with you.
Cobbs, the 2 bomb squads detectives that actually took care of the IDs got promoted. Much better than a medal. Marlin, they were viable. They just malfunctioned. Talking about the bombs at the mayor's office.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well said, brother.
Yeah.
We got a Nolan spotting.
My man right there.
If paid detail allowed MOS to work in plain clothes and have heavy weapons, that might work.
Yeah, but that involves actually training them in heavy weapons. Good luck with that.
I do think they would be much better off wearing a suit or something else rather than NYPD uniform and getting some training, but that would cost money.
Yeah, and
Who would
time.
flip that bill? Would it be the NYPD or the security companies? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
And that
look.
still wouldn't solve a lot of the problems, though.
Look.
Of
Here's the other thing. Should these cops be doing paid detail anywhere when you're turning out 2 or 3 cars, or should they just be getting overtime to cover in precincts to actually put cops out on the street?
Well, you know what, John? That's a great point. At this point, they should tell these security companies that we're no longer doing paid detail. We just don't have the manpower. You're absolutely right. I have to. Well said, brother.
Nolan says, let's be real. The only NYPD training which has been in effect for a long time is shit canning. Not true. Not true. Not for everybody.
I'm going to spit up my coffee. That's actually pretty funny.
The Smith's trying to rile me up over here. He says, John, all the Italians in New York City, we won. Laughing out loud, shaking my head. Dude, I want to rip everybody, but I just don't want to be at war with everybody. But I'm sick of watching clout chasers. We won. We did this. We did that. And then, you know, I'm part of the Italian American Civil Rights League. I'm really questioning that at this point. You know what I mean? Like them doing this victory lap, like they did something. Like, where the fuck have you guys been the last 4
John,
years?
I told you. I don't know how you're part of the organization. You need like guaranteed at least 400 on your cholesterol, and you're way too in shape for that. I'm sorry, bro. I don't know how. I don't think you should be in that league.
Yeah,
you need a triple neck and a 400 cholesterol. Where was yours?
It's just a joke. It's like everybody's just clout chasing. We beat Mandani. You didn't do shit, bro. He put you on a fucking stupid map. Like, get out of here. Jose Caraballo, shout out to your retirement. Jose was just in the newspaper.
Yeah, congrats, bro.
I'm as the legendary lieutenant. So Jose, would like to hear some stories about the academy. So when you're ready, let us know. He says, welcome back, Eric, on behalf of the rank and file.
I heard he's gearing up, getting ready, bro. We look forward to it, man.
Yeah. They all thank you guys for being the voice of MOS who can't speak on the topics covered on here. Prayers. Thanks, brother. We appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things we talked about in NYPD training, but we weren't there firsthand. So, I mean, I think you'd be a solid voice to weigh in and bring that up and the issues you faced and then your journey as well, obviously. Not all bad, you know. So let us know when you're ready. Take some time, decompress, hit us up.
Yeah. Happy retirement, brother.
It's told to you so back when, $1.99. He says, never break up, boys. You three are one to the podcast. No, we're going to keep
That's right, brother.
What do we have? 300,000? We'll be at 3 million soon. So we ain't going nowhere.
Your mouth to God's ears, brother. Oh, yeah.
No, 3 million soon. So Jack Greco 61, he says, quota 3 likes, 2 hype buttons, and 10 views for me. That's a good idea. I like it. See, quotas aren't all bad. Quotas aren't all bad. That would be good.
We
likes.
Comps that, man. We're really at 500,000 viewers or subscribers because, you know, if you add on how many people actually like us.
I'll settle for this quota. If you watch it, just like it and hit the hype button and share it.
That'd be great.
I said it. Like, if you're watching it, just do that. I'll settle for that.
Those are big strides.
By the way, just to touch on that hype button again, when you like the chat, when you like a video rather, as you see, you hit the like button, thumbs up, the hype button pops up below it like this, right? And you just hit where it says hype right there. So this is how the hype button appears, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Nolan wants to know why I think he's Jack Greco. I don't remember. It was something that he said last week. I was only joking. It was something that he said that reminded me. I don't remember exactly what it was. Yeah. So I don't know. But I wouldn't put anything past you, Nolan. You could be a couple other people in here too that I'm watching.
Nolan's got many faces.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
What did Juju say? Juju, welcome back, brother. We missed you. Actually, you've been here. You've been kind of quiet lately, though. He says they don't have other gigs outside the small podcast. Like, if you knew, you knew. You know, like if you know, you know. But that's okay.
Juju, we love you, brother. Honestly, thank you so much for being with us all these years. We really thank you.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time with us, brother. You must honestly, Juju. I want to meet you and give you a hug and a kiss, man. You give us a lot of support, brother.
He says that our topics are too divisive for you to.
I think Juju's starting to turn. I think he likes us now. I don't know.
Oh, I mean, we didn't.
He spends 3 hours every show on watching us. So
we didn't sue him, right? That's the.
I mean, but he's getting paid. I mean, there's no way he's not at work. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Do you think Juju throws out his compost? Do you think he has the right trash can?
Yeah. Chronicles has it here. Juju is one of the OGs here. Yep. He's one of the original gangster.
He's original gangster. That's funny.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Sal Cern says that him and Jack are the original podcasters.
Oh, yeah.
Mikey G, thank you, brother, for always being here. He says he spent 3 hours every podcast watching you guys. Appreciate
Mike, thank you, brother. Good man right here, Mikey G. Thank you, bro.
Yeah. All right. So that's it, peoples. We'll be back at you on Wednesday with the executive perspective. I don't know. I don't want to put out any private information about somebody, but it may be someone's birthday and they may not be on Wednesday. So there'll be a special guest with Chief Marino on.
Does that fall under HIPAA?
Yeah, I fall under HIPAA. Private sensitive information.
Giving out birthdays.
Yeah. So and what are they going to be talking about again? I'm shot. I know I saw
the 4-6 precinct. The 4-6 precinct.
4-6 precinct. That's right. And where the CO was now arrested for rape. That one.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, they call it the 4-6.
The 4-6. 4-6 precinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Wild. So yeah. So definitely check that one out.
I also heard the PP at Police Plaza stands for something different. I can't say it. But it stands for something different.
Unbelievable. I mean, like how would these guys get laid without the job? Like, it's amazing. I feel terrible.
Does it come with the package? Like, you get promoted? It's like you got congratulations. You are now a chief. You are much better looking. We're gonna get you 3 harems. How does that work?
I mean, look, the girls are guilty too, though. Like, I'm not sitting there and saying like,
no, of course. Let's not
pretend like, the girls are all innocent. Like, there's a lot of girls like looking to move up the ranks, not doing police work.
Yeah, like why are you going for a chief if you really want like big money? Go for some like banker on Wall Street or something.
I mean, half of these guys are just dumb. And they can't control themselves. That's really the issue. They're not like sexual predators. Like a lot of guys that have been accused of stuff. That, don't get me wrong, there's definitely sexual predators in the NYPD, and they deserve to go to jail. But just because someone was accused doesn't necessarily mean they're a sexual predator.
Correct.
A lot of them are just dumb. Like, they're just stupid. They got set up. They didn't see it. They couldn't see it, and they got set up and they got used. And now you, as a taxpayer, got to pay for it. So
yes, you're paying for dummies. Well, maybe we should start have an aptitude test for executives, because sometimes you see some of these executives that I've met some, and I don't want to name their names. I was like, oh my God, can this person actually pass an aptitude test? I mean, there are some intelligent guys. I know everybody talks about Pulaski like he's the most smartest guy in the world, and I don't think so. I think he's a pretty intelligent guy. Yeah, when you compare him to the other chiefs in the NYPD, but outside the NYPD, I don't really think he's a phenomenon. I think he's intelligent, but I don't think he's a phenomenon.
Yeah, I mean, look, you hear some of them speak, and they're like, it's like.
Wait, you don't think Tanya speaks good? I don't think she speaks well.
That was all talent.
Yeah.
That was all hard work and talent. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Mark Stewart was probably the most impressive.
How do you have gone through CompStat and still don't know how to properly orate
issues
or at a press conference? And
how do you do roll calls and not know how to do this?
Very true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, last thing, because Smith's bringing this up. What did you think about that McGregor fight? So I had Patty the Batty. I had him doing that submission. I placed a trade on Kalshi for that one. Make sure you use code Finest, right? And then I put it with a parlay though, and I knew it was a long shot because I was pretty much thinking that Conor McGregor only has the first 5 minutes. That's it. Like, there's no way he's going to go into deep waters with Max because he's at the top of his game. What'd you think about that? Because I was literally saying, I'm like, something's not right with this dude. As he was walking out, as he was warming up, I'm like, this isn't good. I didn't care about the stupid bet I made because it was a long shot bet, and that's most of my bets. Most of the trades I ever do, I don't care about that. Like, I don't put a lot of money on them. I do like, $10, $20, whatever. Sometimes they hit. I didn't care about that, but I do think it's a problem because I think that, one, I don't think he was mentally prepared, and even if he wasn't injured, like going in, he was going to get wrecked. But I think that there was something. I thought something was wrong with him. He didn't look like the same guy. I didn't notice a limp or anything like that with him. I did find it weird when he kicked his shoe off and he tripped a little bit. But that could happen to anybody, even if your knee's healthy. Just a stupid step doesn't necessarily mean anything. I just thought that like something wasn't right ahead of time. Like, what did you think about that? Are you buying into any of this that he could have been injured?
No, I don't think. I watch it. My opinion, I watch his gait, his movements before the fight. I think he was in good health. I just think that he hasn't been in the ring in 5 years, and ring rust is a real thing. And I think that there's just so much anxiety there. And I think he's a showman. And I think he wanted to put on a good show. He suffered from anxiety. He hasn't been in the ring in 5 years. And I think he just went out and did a stupid kick. I think it was a real stupid kick to just try to kick and land on that leg, especially the leg that recovered. That was the leg that was broken. And I think I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I think he tore something. Maybe it's the meniscus, maybe the ACL. I don't know. But I think it was that kick he tried to throw. I think because he's a showman, he wanted to put on a show and be entertaining. I'm sure he's suffering from a lot of anxiety. He hasn't been in the ring in 5 years. And, John, you and I were talking about it. Holloway went through a slump a few years ago, and that would have been the time for Conor McGregor to be back. But Holloway's now, he's probably at the prime of his career. He's doing really well. He's found his niche. He has a whole new team of coaches. He's doing great. I think it was a lot of anxiety. I think he was walking in. This wasn't Holloway 1, where Conor McGregor did well. This was a different Holloway. So I think he was suffering from anxiety. That's my opinion.
He looked like he didn't look like the same normal Conor McGregor. He did his walk when he got in the ring, but it just didn't look like him in the warm-ups and the training. And obviously, if you watch McGregor Holloway 1, McGregor's a totally different fighter. He's on point. He's fast. His movements fluid. Like when you watch him warming up, like you compare those two guys, totally different fighter. And now you watch Holloway 1 and you compare Holloway to any of his recent fights, especially when he knocked out Gaethje. I mean, the kid's been unbelievable. I mean, he's literally gotten better and better. And he's
got better.
If he's not at the top of his game, he's right near it, and no business stepping in the ring with that guy. Honestly, I thought McGregor had no business, even if he was fully healthy. But like I said, I do think you were right, because I think the moment caught up with him, and I think he really knew he wasn't going to be able to fight with him. He
That's
had
what I'm saying. I think he wanted to put on a show.
beat him, and he knew. I only have a puncher's chance right here.
Yeah,
and I think that's what happened. But the Paddy Pimblett fight was sick. That kid became a fan favorite coming off a loss, which was
he's entertaining. I have to say, he's a character. He's a character. He loves. You watch Paddy. He loves being fat. Most of the year, he's fat, out of shape.
Yeah.
It comes time, somehow that guy could turn a 1-pack into a 6-pack. So God bless him, man. The guy's he's funny.
Yeah. But I think McGregor's done. I don't think he has any business getting in the ring anymore with any of these people. I thought he was. I don't think he should have gotten this ring either. The guy's he's worth so much money at this point.
There's a thing they say, and it's not just for UFC, anything, sports, maybe even police work. You got to know when it's time to hang it up, when it's time to retire. And I believe whether it's sports or even NYPD, your career goes like this. You go up, eventually you peak, and then you come down. And you got to know when to come, when you start coming down, it's time to retire. We all do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks getting old. It sucks getting old. It sucks not being that guy. Especially, McGregor was on top of the world, and even he still has that draw, right? Nothing like a McGregor fight. I mean, look, they had the 250 UFC 250 at the White House. I mean, that was unbelievable an event, and I think McGregor topped all those numbers. Which is
smart. Insane. He knows how to make money. He's brilliant. He really is brilliant.
Brilliant fight promoter. Brilliant, a vocalist. Watch all his old stuff, his old banter. It was unbelievable. I mean, he literally brought the sport to the next level, and he is a superstar, dude. He's on the level with Jordan and all these other dudes. So
100%. I think the problem is kind of like the Chiefs in the NYPD. They want to still be a chief, and they can't retire. And I think he still wants to be that Conor McGregor. He's a different Conor McGregor now. He's a star. He's a celebrity. But I think he wanted to be the Conor McGregor in the ring Conor, and that doesn't last forever.
Or he's broke. Yeah.
Already?
I don't know. I'm just speculating because Mayweather, they're saying, is broken. He wants another Pacquiao match.
Oh, wow. If he's broke, man, who's doing his finances? He's got his proper 12 liquor out there. He's making money.
So, all right, peoples. All right, we'll be back on Wednesday. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. Do us a favor, like, share, subscribe at The Finest Unfiltered. Leave us a message. If you want to get in contact with us, hit www.thefinestunfiltered.com. We haven't been dropping articles, just been super busy, but we'll get back to it at some point. I just haven't been, I've been busy. I literally was away for a month and I didn't read one thing. Working towards the book that I'm putting out, and so I got to get back on the grind with that. So I'm not going to be writing articles anytime soon. I'm going to be working on that book. I got to get back on that grind. Eric's back, so happy to have him back. He had his stamina held up post surgery, so everybody give Eric a attaboy for his stamina today. And and that's it. Looking forward to rocking out.
I'm a good faker, man, because after this, I'm going to lay down. No, but listen, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate friends and listeners, all the people that reach out to me. I really appreciate it. One thing I learned, as I said earlier, Stan, I say it again, listen to your body, and things happen. Your body's a machine, it gets injured, but your body's an amazing thing. It heals back. Just listen to your body. If you feel pain, go to the doctor. I ignored it and I learned from it. So please take care of yourselves. Thank you. And your mental health, take care of that too.
Yep. Work out, eat right, don't eat junk, sleep, don't use alcohol. Don't use this garbage, fake marijuana that's out there.
And compost. Make sure you compost.
And compost. or they're going to take your fucking house.
Marlon, don't worry, Marlon. You come move in with one of us. You'll be all right.
Marlon, don't worry. I'm sure I'm going to get a message in a few minutes. I got 2 tickets too. So.
How could you say?
All right, brother.
Marlon,
anything before we wrap up? Any other articles you want to get into or novels? You're off, bro. That was the first one today, Maul, and you fucked it. You were gonna get a clean record today.
No, it's impossible, man.
Yeah, and listen, at least I didn't do it for the first
first
3 hours. Time I had to say anything there, huh? Yeah. Just quickly, Ron just sent it to me, so this is. It's not a bad thumbnail.
I like it.
Pretty good.
I like it, Ron. I like it, Ron. Ron's getting good at this. Who's biting their nails, though?
Yeah. All right, guys.
My only critique is I would have put Tish there biting her nails.
Sure.
Tish or the Petri, I would have put biting their nails. Like, boy, this isn't going to be good.
You're going to put a picture of Madry going, oh, boy.
Yeah. So have a nice day, everyone. Remember to compost. Yeah. Got to compost. And put your recyclables in the proper garbage bin.
Yeah, buddy.
All right. Finest Unfiltered, baby. We'll be back at you.
There's a handful of retired officers that don't live in the state that have a lot to say about the dream team, as I like to call it. All of a sudden, they retire and have a master plan on how to fight crime, but nothing to contribute when they were here. They want to come back and be part of the dream team. What can I say?